Good morning, everyone. We will reconvene our meeting this morning on August 7th, 2025. All council members are present. The agenda order today, the first item we'll have, Mr. Wyeth has been working on a study concerning pay for elected officials. Will that be first? Then we'll have the determination of the COLA and the pay for performance and approval of matrices. And then the potential for the raising of pay grades by the COLA and the pay for performance. And then the requested new job positions. Mr. Wyeth, if you're ready.
Sure. Doug, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So, talked with Larry some time ago about the positions of our elected officials, and just to clarify, I'm talking about the auditor, the assessor clerk, recorder, treasurer, coroner, and surveyor. Didn't need to worry about Jack because his is pretty much, I think, all determined, and the judges and prosecutor as well. I didn't also look at commissioners or council because I thought that would sort of set the trend. If we wanted to discuss that later, we could. So when I started this, I thought, well, I want to sit down and talk to everybody a little bit, and I talked with all 7 of them, whether it was a sit down or over the phone, and tried to get a feel a little bit on what they thought their position should be. Also, too, to try to get an idea of employees, how many is in their departments, and again, just to sort of reiterate the responsibilities, and et cetera. So then I went out and thought, okay, after talking with them, I thought I was going to sit down and do my own assessment real quick and run the numbers of what I think maybe their salaries might need to be, and sort of see if that was anywhere close to being even in the ballpark. And then I went out, had a little bit of help to Gateway, and did a little research. And people always like to use the term, I want to compare apples to apples. So I'm going to try to compare the red, delicious Indiana growing apple. And so I looked at counties comparable in size. I used Vanderburgh, the Evansville area. I used Johnson County, Hamilton County, Tippecanoe, Elkhart, and Porter. So that gave a wide variety from north to south, comparable in size. I remember last year, Councilman Brown, there was a comparison to Hamilton County. Hamilton County salaries are a lot higher than any other counties, but I think that is something you can use in your equation, but I don't think you need to use that as a guide completely, because their salaries are a great deal higher than ours or anybody else's. So I went through all of those, not with the coroner. The coroner will be an easier one, I think, to have discussion about, and the surveyor. But I'm going to use the 5, and I'm going to call them the Fab 5, the Fabulous 5, going back to the University of Michigan ball team back in the early 90s, the Fabulous 5. And I looked, and I'm just going to use this with auditor because I have former and current auditor here. But if you average all 7 of those counties, including Hendricks County, average salary is about $96,600. If you take out Hendricks and you delete Hamilton in, it raises to about $97,200. Pull out Hamilton County's auditor's salary, it takes it to about $86,300. And I'm going back to the days when I served on the Farm Bureau Board. We looked at this when we talked about executive leadership team with our insurance company, which is very high paid executives. We used a thing called the Simpson study that sort of used a percentile, and that would use the low end and the high end of companies of alike who was probably having revenues of somewhere just shy of $1 billion a year. So I looked at what a 50 percentile would be, a 75 percentile, or an 85 percentile. And comparing these also are back to 2024 because I don't have Gateway information of 2025. So we got to step back just a little bit, and then we can come forward to make those adjustments. When I looked at the auditor, amazingly enough, our salary in 2024, Nancy's last year, at 50 percentile, we were just a little bit under. At 75%, we were, no, I'm sorry, at 50% we were a little over, 75% we were a little under, and 85% we were a little under. That sort of gives us a gauge and a window to see how close we are with those other counties. If you adjust to where Ann is today, the auditor's position is right in line with the percentile being at about 87%.
Does that include Hamilton?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And Larry, to that point, I didn't want to kick them out, but I didn't want to, because they can skew that quite a bit.
Oh, yes.
And actually, to that, they could skew that number anywhere from about $5,800 to $11,000 with adding Hamilton or taking Hamilton out. So, when I first did my assessment, looking at each of these positions, I assessed the auditor's position at 104,000. I assessed the assessor at 100, clerk, recorder, and treasurer at 94. That was my first assessment. And when I say that, that comes from me as my farmer background. Somebody asked me what a farm should be bringing per acre or a combine or something, I would tell them, here's where I think the average should be. So that was just Dave, just talking, just thinking on where I thought. Another amazing point that I did was looking at this, and Nancy's probably very familiar with this, that out of those 7 counties, the auditor is the highest paid in Johnson, Hamilton, Porter, Elkhart, and Hendricks. The clerk is the highest paid in Tippecanoe, and the treasurer is highest paid in Vanderburgh. So there's no really true consistency with all 7 counties that one position is higher. But what is a little different from us is that our assessor, clerk, recorder, and treasurer are pretty comparable in pay. No one else has that same comparable. So everybody's a little different for each of those positions. So another leg of this that I wanted to go back through and look at is I wanted to go through and see what things are like in the private sector here within the county. And so I reached out to some people, 4 different companies, 2 private, 2 more corporate, and try to get a comparison with where they were at. And one of them I used was a neighbor. Him and his brother started a little business that's pretty much everybody probably knows or heard of. They started to build a building up in Pittsburgh along 74 called Fleece Performance. I had 107 employees, they're growing at about 20%. I had a great discussion with Braden Fleece. We talked about different things, and a little bit different because they work off production. So they have some admin people, but they work with production. Had a great discussion with him talking about different things. Last Friday, I had a discussion where I was able to pick up 2 guys, just so happens we're traveling together. One of them is on the corporate side. He's the vice president of energy with Keystone Energy, who used to be Co-Alliance, that used to be headquartered in Avon, now at High School Road, who has multiple states, multiple counties. Probably Keystone is doing well over $1 billion of business a year. And he helped me a little bit because he separated things with managers and directors. And we heard yesterday, someone made a comment about comparing an elected official to a department head. And I consider looking at managers being more of elected officials and directors being more like department heads, because probably with a director, somebody has got some skill set with management, education. A manager may not have the education, but may have some skill set and knowledge. And so that helped me a great deal. The other person I talked to, good friend, classmate of mine, who started a little business just around the corner, headquartered over in Avon, called Electric Plus, and that was Tim Wicker. Tim helped me also sort of go through this. And one of the comments that was made in some of these discussions is they first thought our salaries were just a little bit low. Not completely off the charts, but a little bit low. 7 o'clock Tuesday morning, I had a face-to-face meeting with the CEO of HRH, Michelle. Can't say Michelle's last name. Finity, thank you. And she gave me some information and back to managers and directors. And so I thought, well, that was interesting to see the corporate side of managers and directors. So that can sort of, the best way I can try to explain that, to put it from the corporate side to county government, that's our elected officials and our department heads. excuse me. So that helped me a great deal understand, gave me a lot of different pay ranges. On sort of on the corporate side of things, looking locally, managers in 7 different areas, their average salaries was about $94,000. Directors are about $136,000. And I think if you probably compare that to two directors here with Doug and Tim back here, I don't know exactly where they are, but I'm assuming that's probably somewhere in the ballpark. I think that when you look at the managers, that's a number that sort of comes back to where I sort of thought things were at the very beginning. My wrap up that I'm gonna sort of say is I believe that if we look at something, I think we either need to try to look at a percentile that you compare other counties, and you use the market based on what's sort of here locally. I think that will give us a good gauge, good documentation. Whether we make changes or not, that's up to the council to make. But I think whatever we decide to do, it should be in about a 5-year period. So if we make a decision, it should last for 5 years, and then we revisit this in 5 more years. I think COLA will carry that for that 5-year period. And I believe that if we did something with the percentile, I think it'll be more accurate. I'm gonna state something that Brett Clark made a comment with years ago. Hendricks County is a growing county. We should be somewhat of a leader. And I think that some of our data shouldn't be compared with Putnam or Montgomery, but Putnam and Montgomery might like to compare us in their equation. One other unique thing that everybody said was, what are your benefits? And that was really, that was fascinating, because they all are in that management decision process of looking at a total compensation pay. So when I shared that, many of them said, well, we have a 6% match on 401k. We don't have a PERF or a pension plan. Our health plan is by far more robust and a lot more affordable than on the corporate side of things. So when you sort of look at that and figure that into it, we are somewhat, again, still within a good range of where we are. I'll pause there for just a minute if anybody has any questions before I go any further.
I don't know if you remember, I popped out one time, I think it was last year, where I found that since 2010, the population in Hendricks County has increased 37%. So yeah, we're growing community.
It's doubled since 2000 when I started. Population has doubled.
Yeah, and that's why, Dave, I was using these other counties, because they're seeing some growth in these counties. Now, that's why I'm also utilizing a 5-year period, because in 5 years from now, I would assume we're gonna continue to grow. That doesn't mean some of these other counties will grow. There may be, Hancock County may be a county to compare it to, or who knows what other counties, I don't know. I think if you would have compared to Howard County 20 years ago, that would have been a growing county. Now then it's going the other way. So.
And if you remember during COVID, Hendricks was only one of 5 counties in the state that stayed in the block. So we have a lot going on.
So I did a comparison, looking at, again, back if we do a COLA, as Larry said earlier, for 2026. I think our auditor is pretty close. I think there can be an adjustment there. The assessor, I think there needs to be adjustment there. The clerk is pretty close to being in line. The recorder is one that, according to the numbers, is a little bit high, actually. And the treasurer is just a little bit below.
Hey, Dave?
Yes?
Did you count the extras,
Yes, I did.
clerk and
Yes, I
the
did.
assessor gets
Yep.
5,000?
Gateway includes those, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Now, Nancy, to that point, thank you for bringing that up. I don't know with some of those other ones, if they do add that or not.
Right.
You would know that in
Yeah.
Gateway. I'm assuming the salaries that they place in Gateway, as you say numbers, I think that that would go for whoever that person is in that
Yeah.
position. That's their total pay for that year.
Yeah, it's very difficult to track, so, because people report things differently, like our clerk gets a line out of
Yes, Yes.
She gets 2 lines.
I think she might have a $4,300.
And 4,000, so there's
Okay.
8,300, but they're paid out of budgetary lines through payroll, so, I mean, it's all very complicated.
It is,
It's
it
hard
is.
to track apples to apples.
Well, I'm trying to do the best I can.
You're excellent information, I'm very interested.
So I have this in a rough form, and I think that sort of what I think we need to make a decision on is whether we want to look at doing a sort of percentile with the averages of counties in combination with a hybrid with the private sector. I think you'll be amazed that there's not a lot of difference. We are just right there. But I also think too, elected officials, I think the auditor has a great deal of responsibility. I think the assessor has a great deal of responsibility. I think the treasurer does because they deal in values and money. I sort of thought of this, and Eric, I think you may have even said this yesterday. If you take property taxes completely out of the equation, our staff would change dramatically because we probably wouldn't need an assessor. We'd probably reduce the treasurer just for tax bills. And the auditor would probably have to reduce staff because you wouldn't have to make the adjustments and things like that to property taxes. The recorder wouldn't change and the clerk wouldn't change because the clerk's to the courts and the recorder's going to still record documents, deeds, land transactions, legal descriptions, etc. So, sort of in a summary, and don't shoot the messenger because I'm just delivering numbers, probably the auditor going in for 2026, I'm gonna stick to my very first number at 104 because it's not very far out if you add 3% COLA to the salary for 2026. I lowered the assessor because I didn't see any of the counties actually having the assessor as their top pay, but I think there needs to be an adjustment there. I think the assessor might need to be in that 97.5 range. I think the clerk is good at about 94. I think the recorder.
Slow down.
I'm sorry.
Assessor what?
I'm sorry, Eric. 104 for auditor,
Yep, got that.
okay, 97.5 for assessor, 94 for clerk, 91 for recorder, 94 for the treasurer. That does put some separation between the departments a little bit. The clerk and treasurer would still be about the same. Again, this is just me giving my assessment on what I've seen with all the data and the numbers.
Is the clerk and assessor's amount including their supplementals?
The clerk and the assessor?
Yeah. So like,
Yes.
is that the total
Yes.
they would make?
Yes, yes. Yes,
Those figures would include the
Yes.
supplementals.
yes.
Well, I would just an observation, for most of the years that I've been on the council, the salaries for all of those elected office holders, sheriff accepted, was the same across the board. And we started, I don't know when, but at some point we recognized that there was a big difference between the workload, the responsibility of the auditor than from the other office holders, and we increased that salary. And then as time's gone on, we've made other adjustments, but yeah, I think you've done a marvelous job, and it should be commended.
I think, Larry, to your point, I think that's why I looked at the other counties, you know, how they ranked those, and there was a lot of separation between those. Hamilton changed quite a bit, but I thought it was very interesting to see that Tippecanoe had their clerk as number one, for whatever reason. I don't know, whatever that is. Vandenberg had the treasurer, but the auditor seemed to be the one that carried the most weight as the highest paid. Again, I don't shoot the messenger, I'm just making a clear recommendation. If we would make those adjustments for 2026, again, I would recommend that be for 5 years and let COLA go ahead and carry that. The next council in 5 years can re-look at this again. That would be about an increase of just a little over $22,000 for those 5 positions. So again, we're right there, we're pretty good, pretty close.
I guess I would I'm not sure how I feel about the 5-year,
And that's just a pure
projection.
recommendation.
Maybe the responsibilities of all those positions will stay
Good point.
the same, but I don't know if it's gonna be the case.
There's gonna be a bill to eliminate assessors next year.
And I did think of that
Crazy.
because Nancy, back to when I was on the Farm Bureau, there was a time that IT was huge 10, 12 years ago. That was a big push, and people were trying to lobby and trying to steal IT directors,
Yeah.
okay? I mean, that was a huge push. And this may be something that you look at in a few years, because we don't know of what kind of statutes it's gonna change, you don't know what kind of laws it's gonna change. This thing could change completely. The assessor could have more or less. The clerk could even have more, because you never know what courts are going to do. I mean, I don't know, and I think our courts are growing with caseloads.
Actually, they're not.
So, well, maybe the
But,
severity.
you know, next year could be.
Severity. I look at the treasurer and I think, okay, here's somebody, and I just went to the bank yesterday, and the lady said, hey, I need to talk to you. And I said, well, what about? Well, we need to find out if we can get some money from Hendricks County. And I said, you already are. Because I think she's already investing in the North Salem and State Bank of Lisbon and such. And I said, I think you're already getting some. So, there's a lot of responsibility. I don't want any of my elected officials to think I'm trying to favor one more than the other. I'm just looking at the numbers, the core numbers. One thing I also shared with everybody is in the auditor's office, there's about 14 that reports to you. The assessor has about 24, the clerk has 25, the recorder has 8, and the treasurer has 6. That played a role into some of the decision-making on the corporate side of things, because some would say, I don't think you should have much more than 10 reporting to a supervisor. Now, that's on the corporate side of things. So if you look at that, auditor's a little heavy, assessor's real heavy, clerk is real heavy, but the recorder and treasurer is probably within line of a workload and for supervision.
Well, you have your chief deputies.
That's right, that's
So,
right, that's right, that's right.
That's the in-between guy.
I will touch on the surveyor. When I went through the surveyor's numbers, our surveyor was really, really in line with other counties. Talking to Dave, we have some counties that have part-time surveyors, some full-time. There's no, you don't have to be licensed or as a civil engineer or as a surveyor. So, you know, any of us can do that. Eric and Larry would be very well qualified for that. But when I looked at that, Dave is right in line with that. If you would look at him at a 50 percentile, he is in check exactly with his salary this year. If we go to a 75 percentile, it'd be bumped up $1,300 and maybe less than $2,000 if you bump it to an 85 percentile. And that is considering him with all of his, with the cornerstone and the mileage of regulated drains. On the corner side of things, if you look on this one sheet here, Eric, most of all you have this sheet here in front of you. If you look at that, you see Dan and Stephanie are within $1,200 of each other. And my recommendation for Dan is we probably, if we're going to keep our elected officials at a high rate and the chief deputies at 85%, we probably need to make an adjustment to Dan's salary. I believe Dan and Stephanie both are registered nurses, and I think if you go out and look at the registered nurse jobs out there, a lot of registered nurses, I think, can easily make a 6-figure job, you know, wherever you may want to go. But I think Dan is doing a fabulous job. I think him and Stephanie are doing great. I'm glad we got our building purchased and how they got a nice home to call out there. But I do think there probably needs to be an adjustment there, however the council may feel, if we want to go back and make that fair to him compared to other elected officials.
Just a comment with respect to the nursing degrees. I think we need to be careful that we don't tailor the salary to a particular individual. does the job require that the person be a registered nurse? If it doesn't, then you don't, you shouldn't.
There is some kind of certification, Larry.
There's certification,
that
right.
they have to have.
Yeah, right.
And Chuck, did you say you had that certification, or you did?
Mine's lapsed, yeah, I have
Okay.
a medical legal death investigator.
So, I agree. It's just, again, trying to keep that red delicious apple, Larry, you know, in perspective. Because you can sell apples by the piece or by the pound.
So what's your suggestion on the coroner then?
The coroner is back to Dave, to where, do we wanna take him up to get him the spread for setting his salary at X, so his chief deputy is at 85%, which I think would be a little over about a $15,000 increase for him,
It's like $88,000 total.
something like that. So I'm just, that is if you wanna keep that the same or not, and that's, and I'm not making that I'm just making that recommendation if you wanna consider keeping that in parity with others. If you don't, then that's totally fine too. It's just, that was an observation that I made.
I think that's kind of looking at things backward. I had no problem with the 85%, but I don't think because you have a salary for the deputy at a certain rate, that would justify increasing the coroner's spot or salary. Rather, and we have a certain situation there, but ordinarily, you look at what the elected official's salary is and then accordingly adjust the deputy.
And I don't wanna adjust the
Yeah.
chief deputy at all. I don't wanna take her back.
Sure, yeah.
I don't wanna do
Yeah.
that. I don't wanna make that adjustment. I just think it needs to be consideration if you wanna adjust. the
Well, we
coroner.
could do that, but with the understanding that that salary would change until such time as that becomes 85% of the.
And we can phase it in over a couple, 3 years if we want to.
Right.
Again, that was just a that was something that caught me totally off guard. I was not aware of that one, that the chief and the coroner was that close.
Dave, did you get comps on corners for the other counties, the similar sized counties?
That would make him way over everybody else.
Yeah, I think,
Well, we also have to ask ourselves, because some corners are part-time,
yes.
and I don't think Dan is part-time. I don't know if he's intended to be part-time.
Elkhart, in 2024 was at 72, 73, Tippecanoe was at 74, Vandenberg was at 79, Porter was at 46.
Hamilton's at 91,754.
But Hamilton also has more than twice as many people as we do.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
But do we know if their positions are part-time or full-time?
They
To
got-
answer that.
I have another question, Dave, if you factored in, and we're trying to get away from this longevity, because the 85%, I found when doing the math a couple of years ago, the chief deputy would get 85% of a 15-year employee's 1,500. There's always a little hiccup.
Yeah.
So,
No, Nancy, I did not put longevity into that. I did not.
so I don't know if we want to say this is with longevity or.
But there is no longevity.
But, right, that's what we're trying to get away from, but when if we added 1,500 to that and then 85%, then they would get, most chief deputies have the 1,500, but not chief deputies. Elected officials, but some, like Ann would not, because she didn't have that many years, so.
Compared to you.
Right.
Yes.
So, you gotta think about those things going,
We gave elected officials longevity.
No, I don't think we did.
yes,
I think we
but
did.
not yourselves and the commissioners.
Oh,
I think we did, because I think that's the reason why there's a little spread between.
Yes, that's why it's,
The
they're not.
recorder, treasurer, and clerk and assessor was a little spread difference
Okay.
between them. Their base was the same, the longevity
Right.
changed that.
They didn't
just
get
a little bit.
performance, but they got their longevity. So,
As the coroner said the other day, I mean, they're on pace for almost 100%
Right.
increase in business, I mean.
Well, the thing with the coroner is too, is they're now involving themselves in almost every single death there is in the county, where 4 years ago, they involved themselves in a quarter of the deaths.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've increased their business to make themselves more important, in my opinion.
And maybe also too, and I didn't ask this to Dan, but I think I asked him when I toured, there's becoming, okay, I'll try to handle this delicately. There's becoming more requests for autopsies because of life insurance companies' request. And I'm gonna use that for an example that just happened recently. And I think you all know what that is, so you have to remember that, and then I think part of that too goes back to some of the problems with overdosing and such. I would imagine there's some disclaimers in fine print that may not cover life insurance policies for situations like that, so. It's just unfortunate, but we also had a really good deal, I think, for many, many years with Matthews that we sort of got spoiled.
Right.
We really got spoiled on. So,
Dave, did you do any discovery work on commissioners and council?
Elkhart Commissioners was at 62, they were right in line with us, and that's about as far as I went, Larry, because what I thought with that is that if we made any adjustments to any of these others, I felt like that would sort of set the trend. If we wanted to make that look at commissioners and council, then we could do that. If we don't do anything, then we don't do anything.
The one-
Dave?
oh,
Go ahead.
The one thing that jumps out at me is I think the clerk is a little light. That job is a beast.
I'm sorry, which?
The clerk.
Oh,
That job is a beast. Now there is, she does have 2 chief deputies, but it is a bigger job probably than, well, I don't wanna say. They all are really state employees doing state work. They're instructed what to do. They're all important. But as far as workload, I don't know.
Would it be possible to compare the counties that you looked at, to do your comparison as to how many courts they have with the clerk?
I did not think about that on
Or how
court
many
size.
courts they have to deal with? And that might be something to follow up.
And, you know, Larry, when you say that, it's sort of like with this county, we have a couple town courts. I would assume Elkhart, Lafayette, probably
They do.
Evansville probably
Yeah.
has city courts, I'm assuming, to handle some small things.
Yes.
So, you know, that would be skewed a little bit too, so it would probably go hand in hand somewhat, but I think that's a good point. How many
Oh, so-
courts or magistrates do you have in each of your counties, towns, or cities? And also too, to that point, Hendricks County is unique because we don't have a city.
Right.
And all these other counties, they have cities, you know, so I don't know how much that changes things, but it changes a little bit of the dynamics because the cities are bigger than towns, so.
I can tell you for Vanderburgh County, which I was, big county when we were little, they have 2 cities, 1 school district, and 2 libraries. I'm like, oh my God, we have 12, 12, 6, 6. 12 towns, 12 townships, 6 schools, 6 libraries. The workload in Hendricks is tremendously more than in Vanderburgh. So,
Wow.
that's not parcels, that's the financial workload.
And
So-
you could go into, you could dissect this even down to
Right,
parcels
right.
and things like that. I'm gonna try this as just a little example, probably this winter. I'd really like to compare some of these counties to population to parcels. Because I would almost bet to believe for every parcel, you can count for 2 people population. Because we have, I think Nikki shared with us 80-some thousand
That's
parcels.
probably
So you
close.
take that times 2, that's 160, 170, so I would say that's a pretty doggone close
Yeah.
number,
Yeah.
you know? And that's just me talking.
That's why the legislature struggles so much making laws that work for everybody. It's impossible. It just is impossible.
to do it well.
To do it right, yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're in the same boat with this.
Well,
So, thank you, Dave, for that. You did a lot more work than I did, but I think you're, got some legitimate things. So what I looked at was.
I didn't put all the dazzle into it. Eric asked me yesterday, Dave, I hope you're gonna dazzle me, so I hope I dazzled you with numbers, but not in the presentation.
So,
that you-
what's, a couple interesting things, since, last time I looked at this was 23, I think, we've actually, passed Vanderburgh in population.
Yeah.
They're losing people, Monroe County's actually losing people.
Mm-hmm.
I think next year we might beat Tippecanoe County.
Yes.
So so what I looked at was Elkhart County, Tippecanoe County, Vanderburgh, and Porter. Those are the 2 counties on both sides of us, in population. And I took their 2024 salaries, because that's all I had on the gateway, and then I increased them by 4.5%, so what we did last year, and then we did it by 3% this year. And if you do that, the average of the top 2 counties, Tippecanoe and Elkhart, for assessors, 101,959. The average for the 2 smaller counties is 86. If we do a 3% for assessor, we'd be at 94, almost 95, so we're like, makes sense. Auditor, same, 102, smaller is 84, or if we do a 3%, we'll be at 99,885. The recorder, we are paying our recorder more than both of them. The average for the recorder for Elkhart and Tippecanoe is 85. The smaller ones are 81. We're gonna be at 89,586 this year if we do 3%. Treasurer is 93 for the larger counties, 86 for the smaller, and we are at 89, so right in the middle. The coroner, the 2 larger counties will be at 79, the 2 smaller ones at 68. We'll be right at 78 this year. Surveyor, top 2 bigger counties, 111, smaller ones 94, we're at 110. Clerk, the 2 bigger ones 103, 2 smaller ones 83, we'll be at 97,442, so right in the middle. Commissioners, top 2, 74,883 versus 52, or 67 if we do 3%. And council, we're above both of them. The top, I can't tell with Elkhart, 'cause they don't ever list, I don't know if they don't have in general, in normal council or what, they were never listed on Gateway, the council members aren't.
I think.
They have some kind of weird thing or something?
Maybe they're volunteers.
Do they have 9? Are they one of them that has the 9?
No.
But they're not called councils, I don't know what they're called, but if you do a search on there for council, that word council is nowhere on their Gateway employees.
Whatever it is they have for their council, I know there's 9.
But I had it in 2024, like 21, because I found it in the fact book or something. So I put it at 22 for 2024, and then that puts the 2 larger counties at basically 23 for 2026, the 2 smaller ones at 25 for 2026, and if we do 3%, we'll be at 26,605. So we're higher than both of that. So the outliers in pay, everybody else I think is perfectly in line with everybody else. The outliers are the recorder makes more than the average, and the council makes more than the average.
Is the assessor under?
The assessor is, the top 2 is 102, the bottom 2 are 86, and ours will be at 94,772, so right in the middle. And then when you talk, the biggest thing is talking to the private sector. I'm glad you do that, but once you go into our benefits, the numbers work themselves. I mean,
It's total
yes,
compensation.
if you're an executive leader in a private company, you're working probably 50 or 60 hours a week, guaranteed. I'm sure our elected officials here, some of them work more than 35 hours a week, but I don't think they're working generally 50, 60 hours a week year round. Insurance at a private company is for families to be $800 a month minimum. Anywhere I know anybody that's working, they're paying about $400 every 2 weeks for family insurance. We're paying $300 for family insurance here a month-ish. And then pensions, if you're at a gig company, they're gonna give you about 5% if you they'll match up to about 5% on the high end, where we're giving our employees 14% towards pension.
And I had 2 of them said 6 on matching 401Ks.
So our benefit package is just.
It's huge.
It's huge.
Now, younger people looking for jobs
They
won't
don't-
understand or care, but it is,
They're not gonna get old.
no.
Guys,
So, I mean, I don't,
for quite some time, I've been considering whatever our wage would be for someone, the benefit package is probably anywhere from 45 to 50% on top of that. So to pay somebody $30 an hour, it costs Hendricks County $45 an hour to do that.
At least. It's probably more than
At
that,
least,
yeah.
you say at least? Yeah.
Social Security match is 7.65%.
And again, part of the reason why I made my second recommendation was to look at a 5-year window, and that's just what I was trying to do. And again, that's just Dave talking, so, you know, this is open for discussion, and
This is wonderful. I think both of you, both of your research thing, this is terrific. This is very helpful for us to have a handle as to where we are and where we may have a few things that we need to correct, or change a little bit, but.
And I think something to think about too, and this goes back to my 10-year days ago. You don't want an elected official's salary to be too high, because I think you'll attract the wrong people. If you have it too low, then you won't attract the right people.
Yeah.
And somewhere in that middle is where you try to need to be, and that's why I sort of came up with a 50 percentile, 75, 85 percentile, that do we want to keep ourselves as the county sort of towards that upper end and not just par? Because I think in the game of golf, par is not going to win too many tournaments. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and again, that's just me making my assessment on what I think, and again, it was sort of looking at a 5-year window, so.
So you really think we ought to reduce the commissioner's salary?
Well, I think back to your point, Larry, I think getting down to 50%, cut it 50% would be fine. Oh,
Speaking for myself, I can handle that fine. If you wanna do it, I'll support it.
Oh.
And at the right time, I have other comments. Seriously.
I will tell you that I had a great, to Eric's point, this was really good of expanding out to look at the corporate side of things. Michelle was great sitting down with me. She shared some things with me that is in total confidence that I can't share, but it helped me prepare more for this. Of course, Tim Wicker is a trustee of the hospital. Timmy him and I talk quite frequently. Great individual. His dad was a former commissioner. He did make the comments that, Dave, I think your salaries are just a little bit on the light side. And Mike Hayden, with the energy department of Keystone, he was right on target with things, and again, my recommendations are sort of in that range of where sort of the private sector, not including the benefits, just the salaries.
All right, thank you to both of you. I think that will give us, give us all some background for what we've got to do the rest of today. I appreciate that very much. At 10 o'clock, we are supposed to have the communications center come in for the last hearing. So, is that still on, I believe?
They are here, they are
Oh,
here.
Well, how about we bring them in and have that hearing, and then we can complete the rest of our work. Welcome. It might appear to be intimidating, but hopefully we're not.
All right, we'll figure it out.
If you would like to start, that'll be fine.
Okay. I'd like to start, first off, by just introducing myself and kind of explaining what we do, the 911 Center. My name is Renee Tomlinson, and I am the director there. And although it seems like, and you see on the movies, that we just answer the phone, we do a lot more than that. We take in all the emergencies for police, fire, and EMS. We answer all the calls from the citizens. And we take those calls, and once we do process those calls with certain protocols, we dispatch police, fire, and EMS, and we stay with every emergency until the end. So from beginning to end, when you see the firefighters out there and the police officers out there, we are still managing that emergency, making sure they're safe and making sure everything is going according to their plan or whatever they need. We also manage all the radios on the state system, and anytime there's a problem with them, we make sure they're in working order again. That's why we choose to do one platform of radios so that we can service them and have one knowledge base that's very robust. We also answer the after-hours calls for any agency, so Brownsburg or Pittsburgh or whatever, water department, police department. We answer all those after-hours calls and through the weekend and everything. We also not only manage the emergencies, but all of the computer-aided dispatch systems. We have a lot of technology. We view approximately 7 screens to make sure that we know exactly where people are, trying to find them. If we can't find them, we go outside and have them search for, ping their phone, which means locate them by other means than the resources that we have. So there are a lot of things that go into 911 Center, not just answering the phone. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. That goes into a lot of the IT that we actually do. We have several programs that we rely on in order to do our jobs on a daily basis. So that's just a little bit about the 911 Center and what we do, and then we can go ahead and get into the budget.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any items that you want to highlight or to?
There are a couple of items I'd like to highlight. First off, we came to the council in June for an increase in wages, which was a 4.2 increase, which you'll see that is the majority of what I'm asking for all the way around. And we stayed at a 2% cap this year to just be mindful of all the changes that are happening in the country, and so that we didn't go over budget, and we were very conscientious about that. So the first portion of it in the wages, there is a $256,911 increase for that, which is the majority of the increase that I'm requesting. And like I said, we had that in reserve, which we tapped into to complete it for this year, and then next year we're asking for that additional funds. So that would be in the wages portion of it. Do you have any questions on, because I'm just gonna go straight through if you don't mind, in the different things. Any
Can I ask a
questions on the
question?
wages? Yeah.
So, this does not include another rate like your COLA that Plainfield's giving on top of?
This does include that, so we accounted for a 3% within this
Okay.
for anyone who would be getting those increases, yes. If we don't use it, then it'll stay in there. If we do use it, then it's
So
there for us to
4.2
use.
that happened last month, and then
3%.
Pay
3%.
for performance.
It's not a straight 3%, we do pay for performance,
Okay.
so it's all dependent upon where
Whatever,
they're at,
okay.
but we
So
collectively.
that is included, that's just what I wanted to make
Correct.
sure.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, so the next portion is the operating supplies and the uniforms and the fuel. Fuel went up a little bit. There's basically the same. It went up 1,000 just for the vehicles and driving back and forth. We also use the vehicles for any kind of training we go to outside of Hendricks County. So just went up a little bit. Any questions on that portion?
So
Before we
Plainfield
can-
has told you that they're gonna do 3%?
No, it's a pay for performance. We get metrics along the way, based on how you do. So once a month, we have, input into what's called a track it. And so based on how you do month to month, and then overall score at the end of the year is what you would get an increase. It is based on your performance.
Yeah, the town budgets 3% total for the entire town, and then it's paid, so based on your performance, someone may only get a 1% raise, somebody else may get a 4.2% raise, but we only have 3%, so we spread that out depending on performance. If it was a true,
Same thing we were trying to do this year.
Yeah.
if it was true pay for performance, you would budget 5%, so that way, if you got a 1 on your on your performance evaluation, you would get 1%. If you got a 5, you'd get 5%, but there's no way we can do that. So we just do 3%, and then that kind of pushes everybody into buckets of where they're at, dependent upon their performance. But it is spread out, and we have, if you ever wanna see we have spreadsheets on that shows kind of where your evaluation came in at, and then where your pay raise was associated with that.
That's townwide, every department does
Townwide,
it.
yeah.
Okay, that's good to know.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so then the next section is the contractual, section. There is a significant increase, in some of the things that are here, and I'm going to explain why, but there's also a bit of a decrease. So, last year, we had asked for $75,000 to patch and paint the department on the main floor. There was some upkeep that needed to happen, and so this year that is out of the picture. So the $75,000 is out of the picture. So there are other things that we are looking at, such as, right now we use Schneider for Beacon services. If you're familiar with Beacon, it's very good for agencies that need to know where a specific point is on the map. However, for 911 services, we need something a lot more robust. We need something that's XY coordinates, so exact specific locations, and also possibly in areas that have a Z coordinate, which is up. And so GeoCom is one of those agencies that work with 911 centers specifically to get our information and our data when the phone call comes in to an exact point on the map. Sometimes Schneider, in the middle of a field or in the middle of a woods, won't have that XY coordinate. Well, that's what we're looking for, because emergencies don't just happen in a house on a point. So we are looking to get a more robust system that works specifically with 911, and that does cost a little bit extra at the beginning, but over time, over the 5-year contract, it'll actually be less than what we're paying now for something that doesn't help us as much. So that's one of the increases. The other increase is going to be for the IT contractual services. And I would like to explain how the IT contractual services work. So our computer-aided dispatch system, which is the main bread and butter for what we do in the 911 center when we take information in, we do pay Marion County, because they house our CAD system, a significant amount, and that does go up every year to pay them for that CAD system. The other thing that significantly went up, we handle emergency medical and fire and police. There are different protocols that we use. When someone calls in, we go through certain questions and steps in order to handle every emergency exactly the same and make sure they're getting the best quality of service. We have had in the past fire and EMS, and we just added police. Adding police was a significant increase into that IT budget, if you will. The other things that IT pays for out of that budget is our AT&T contracts, which is how we get the phone calls in and stuff like that, and different equipment such as what we call them consolettes. They're radios. We have 12 of those, and they have to be on a cycle of repeat, and they pay the vendors to come and make sure all of those items are working so that we can answer the call and do everything that we need to. It is obviously in the best interest of Hendricks County and everyone in the community that the 911 center works and works efficiently. So we make sure that we have these things in place so that we can do that. And some of this technology information is very high level expertise, and so we do have to have outside people who specifically work on that equipment to come in and do that. And we do also pay for the radios to be on the state system. So all of that goes into the IT budget, which did go up by 100,000. So those are some of the things that I like to highlight. Do you have any questions on any
The
of that?
building you're in now, is that owned by Plainfield?
Is it, I believe it is owned by Plainfield, yes.
Are they paying a lease to you for that?
A lease to me?
I'm assuming we're leasing the building?
No, no. Part of the interlocal is that we maintain, if the county ever came to us and said, hey, we want to take the dispatch center back, you get all of the employees and all of the equipment, we maintain the building. Then, at that point, if you wanted to lease the building, you could. But part of the interlocal is we agree to house them in our buildings. Now, her general maintenance of that building is funded from you. Anytime we've done major renovations, all of those come out of our funds.
But I would think that the upkeep would be on you guys too, not the 911 part of it, but I've never overly agreed with the way Plainfield does their accounting over there. I've also heard that the IT guy, we're paying for a part of his salary.
Yes.
And that he's not really in the building that much.
Yep.
So, should we pay that much?
So one of the issues with IT is that we did house an IT in her building. She's outgrown her, she's to the limit of her building. So it's, how do we expand the building, or do we just take the IT person that was housed in there and say, hey, you're gonna have to travel back and forth? And so we decided to remove them from the building, giving her more space. But the 911 center is connected to every firehouse, to everything. And so if a firehouse, locution is what's notifying firefighters, you have a call, right? It's the bells and whistles going off. If that connection goes down in Brownsburg, that is our responsibility to fix, not Brownsburg, because it's connected to our IT system. So if we took that out, then she would have to go find a vendor to do that. And we've done this data several times, especially since I've been in this position, right? I mean, I look at these numbers all of the time, and she can attest to it. I made her take a vehicle out of her budget this year just to try to save money. We try to save you guys as much money as possible. Outside vendors are expensive, especially when you talk about Motorola and these other places. And so we're trying to balance the two, because to be honest with you, I don't want her relying on Plainfield IT as much as, because we have IT needs as well, and they are IT heavy. And so if I told her get rid of all of your vendors and just use our IT, we would have to hire even more IT.
A couple of full-time people.
I have another question. Is that Geocom that you're gonna replace the Schneider with, or is that under IT contract, the 905,000, is that included in that figure?
It is actually included in, let me look at the specific.
Commercial services.
Yes, there you go. Contractual services?
Our contract.
The 287-1, at the bottom of page 1?
Yes.
Yeah, it's included in that.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't have the line item for you.
Mr. President, this is getting, sorry to interrupt, but Eric and I serve on the advisory board for the 911 call center. I serve as the chairman of that board. We are an advisory board. Eric was involved with you all day yesterday and so on, but we had an advisory board meeting yesterday, and I will say this, we went through this budget line by line, so on, and we did approve it to say, come over and recommend it to you folks. And so just FYI, it has some more information for all of you as a council. But that advisory, and the advisory board is made up of the council representative, who's Eric, myself from the commissioners, all of the major towns in the county have representative on there, and the kind of the west side smaller areas as a group have one representative. And Renee put us through a painful presentation.
Painstakingly presentation so that I would be ready.
But good. So, yeah.
So the advisory board
Is supporting, yeah, totally supporting and recommending. Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're welcome.
On the, Eric, or,
No, I mean, I think this is a good budget, like a lot of the money spent on IT is, and when you talk about, so the people, when they answer a call, they're not just talking to the person, it used to be flip charts, right? Like cards to go through, they say this, you do this, but now it's all electronic, and we watch videos of how these new systems save lives, and it's amazing because it's split seconds, instead of flipping through, trying to find what's next, just the next question. It's like doing like one of those old storybooks where if you did this, you went here, if you did this, you went there, and so it leads you down a path, and if something messes up, then it loops you back around and start over and figure out what's going on. So it's a really cool system that helps our people that work there be more efficient at their jobs and more effective, but it is expensive, and that's where all the IT cost comes from.
I do have another question, sorry. Any big purchases coming up, like the $1,799,000
No,
switch?
no big purchases, and in fact, if you go to the last portion of the budget with the building and the infrastructure there and the equipment, I have built in a slow trickle process so that we have 12 consulates, and so there's a 6-year program to do them a couple at a time, so there's not a huge expense like that, just because that is really hard to swallow sometimes, right?
And last time I was at a meeting, we talked about Indianapolis getting a new phone system or something that might make us have to get something different because ours won't work with them, was that?
I heard that somewhere.
They, as the last time that I checked, now that their contract I believe has 3 more years, the last time that I checked, they were going to stay on the same system.
Oh, they are now?
Yes.
Okay.
Because what is out there, in order to change something like that, it's a lot of infrastructure to change. It's not just, hey, we're gonna change our phone system. And I'm not sure that they're willing to do all of the infrastructure right now.
That was a rumor they had started, but they hadn't looked deep enough into it to realize it was not as easy as they thought.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
So I have a question about your IT stuff, and I'm trying to pick this up a little bit. So if a person calls 911, this IT, will you be able to pick up a flag or a pin on where this transmission is happening? And what I'm getting at, and I don't want to confuse you, but I'm a farmer, and I could be out in the center of the field, just lost a limb. I don't even know where I'm at, okay? And the reason why I say that is I could be on an intersection of one road and another road. And you can have an accident the same way that can happen, and people don't know where they are. And so does that does this sort of pick that up? Am I getting that correctly? Or are you just gonna let me
Nope.
stay out there for the vultures?
You are good. I'm going to explain this. I'm going to explain this, and it's got a lot of words, but to answer your question, there's a lot of different things that feed into that. So I'm going to try to break it apart and tell me if I did a good job after I'm done. So when a call comes in, the cell phones especially, they hit off of towers, okay? So in our world, when the phone call comes in, that's called a phase 1 call. Phase 1 call could be several blocks, right? So maybe it's like 4 blocks. So phase 1 is just initially what it does. Then your cell phone hits the tower again and gives us a better location. It's called a phase 2 location. And what that does is it hits 3 towers and it triangulates you till about a 7 house range. So if you're in the middle of a field, we have about that range. So we can ask questions and we can try to find out where you're at further down than that. If we know you're in the middle of a field on an accident and it's 7 house range, we can send responders to that area and we can do searching to continue to find you. The other things that we do once they get on scene, which is kind of an old school way to do it is, have the officer hit their siren or hit something. We say, we can hear that, you know, it sounds really far away. Keep coming in closer, or we can guide them to the location. There's also a free service out there. So that's the phone system. So that's what we do, and that's the IT portion of it as far as when the phone comes in. However, there's an additional IT portion of it, and it's called What 3 Words. So let's say I'm on the telephone with you, and you tell me that you don't know where you're at or whatever. I can walk you through a program called What 3 Words, and the whole earth is broken up into 1 meter sections. And every meter has a word associated with it. All the words that you could think of, you know, pig, cat, cow, progressive, any word you can think of. And they are next to each other in this grid that the whole world is under. If you can tell me your What 3 Word location, I can get to you within a meter. So while I'm on the phone with you, I can ask or explain to you how to download this app if you don't already have it, which is very simple. And I can get your What 3 Words, and I can tell the responders these are their 3 words, and the responders can get on their own app and find you within a meter. Yeah, so that is out there, which,
I try.
yeah,
I try
we're
to
gonna be
hide.
pushing that a lot harder in public education, because that is an amazing free service that the responders in Hendricks County already have, and we work with them. We've actually found people based on that information alone, but you can work through it. So we are very IT heavy, and we use these resources to help people. I mean, we go way beyond just answering the phone, and stay on the phone with them while they're in the middle of these emergencies and everything like that. So there are several ways we can get to them, including a service called Rapid SOS, which also does the XY coordinates. And XY coordinates is a specific location, which it's, you know, we can use that too. So the phone system comes in one way with the phase 1 and phase 2, but we also have a different application, and we can also do the What 3 Words. So we can find you. The only way we wouldn't be able to find you is if you had a prepaid cell phone that doesn't have actual service on it. And then we try very hard to, what do you see, which way were you headed, and get that information. But otherwise, we should be able to find you.
For the 3 word.
What 3 words?
What 3 words?
Mhm.
Is that only in English, or can it be in other languages?
I'm not sure, since it's all around the world. I would assume that it is in other languages, but I cannot answer that question for you, but I will look into
Okay.
it.
It is.
And while
When you go to install it, Larry, it gives you an option of selecting.
Okay.
You can, a lot of different languages.
And while you're doing the What 3 Word, or you're doing whatever you can to try to locate the person, have you already sent help?
Yes, because based on all of the other things that we have, like the phases and the Rapid SOS and the XY coordinates, we are already sending help. Most of the time when we are on the phone with people, help is already being sent. The questions that we ask and the things that we're doing, we're a call taker, and we basically hold the hand of the person who's on the phone while we're sending information to our police dispatcher, our fire dispatcher, and we're doing all of that behind the scenes. The person who's on the phone has no idea. So we're already sending help, and sometimes help gets on scene while we're still on the phone with you. So, yes.
How close can the triangulation get, within so many meters, or?
I can't remember the exact meters, but what sticks in my head is 7 houses, within 7 houses on a very dense block. So, you know,
So it should be not very.
Correct,
not very
it's,
much.
right, it sends them to where they need the help, and then from there, we can do some tricks of the trade to get you closer.
Are all of the cell towers serving Hendricks County and our periphery, are they all part of that triangulation
Every cell tower in,
everywhere?
yeah.
Okay. I think I'm out of questions. Do we have more? Any questions?
Well, I was on the original board that set that up, and things have changed a lot over the years. And I'll bow to Eric and Jennifer, I know how we used to have to go through that line by line, but, so, to some degree, I'll have to bow to their expertise on that.
The board used to be really exciting when we were trying to figure out how to pay for everything. Now it's kinda, yeah.
A lot better.
We had a real find when we hired Renee, and she has done a really good job.
Thank you.
We're fortunate to have her.
And she is a tax-paying member of Hendricks County Liberty Township, so.
Yeah.
Well,
And has her family with her finally after 22 months.
That's right.
Not being apart, you can imagine.
Yes.
Where'd you move from?
Florida, south of Tampa, north of Bradenton.
You moved into definitely a different environment.
I did. I'm originally from Northwest Indiana, right outside
Oh,
of Chicago.
well, then you're
So
okay.
I remember the winters, and my kids miss snow. I'm like, what is your problem? But you know, it's all right.
I make a motion to approve the Hendricks County Communications Center budget.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the budget as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Nay, passes 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think, we'll take a 15-minute break and then we'll reconvene.
Give us about 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
But we just took a recess and it was announced for 15 minutes, and I know you
Is that okay?
okay, and then, do you wanna reconvene the meeting then, come back out of recess?
At this time, we'll reconvene the meeting and come out of recess.
Okay.
Mr. Dawes, you wish to
Okay.
comment?
Sure. There's a department that presented to you, and they did present, and it's an elected official department, not another department. They recommended an organizational reorganization structure. I'm not saying that the commissioners oppose that reorganizational structure, but in as I looked at it, because I asked a couple of you if I could look at the chart, so on, I think that elected official really needs to rethink who they would put into that specific spot. And there's a real issue there that I won't go into any more detail, but they need to really rethink what they're doing with that. And so I would urge you as a council to probably not approve that based on that issue itself. We, the commissioners, from a policy standpoint, are re-looking at a policy, and I'll just tell you, it's nepotism policy, and we are revising that with our council as well, using Barnes and Thornburg from a labor law standpoint. And we're gonna be covering that so that that type of situation really wouldn't happen in the future. So those are my comments there. The other thing I would say to you that I'm aware of out and about from other businesses, I'm hearing 3% to 4% increases in wages, and those that have a pay for performance situation, most of what I've heard are doing 3%, but it's kind of like Jared said from Plainfield, it's a true pay for performance situation that that department has X amount and they need to keep it at an average of 3%, because some people might get 1, some people might get 4, and so on. So those are just some general comments that I would make.
All right.
There's some other specific things going on with departments that report to the commissioners. Some of you have talked to me about that, and we will work on that as well, and figure out ways to correct some of the situations that I guess have gone on for years with some of the pay, the way things are happening, by the way people are getting paid and so forth, that really aren't probably the way it should be done.
All right.
And we will work on those things.
All right.
So,
Okay.
Mr. Jones, let me ask a question.
Yeah.
On the pay for performance, where they're putting all of the percentage raise towards that, do you know, are they establishing a limit so that one employee does not get a exorbitant amount or percentage of the pay for performance? Is that practice?
I'm not aware of that happening. Now, Jared made a comment to that with what Plainfield does. And so, you know, if you think about it, if you get way out of whack with some limit, you're gonna give one person everything and nobody's gonna get anything. So that does it in right there, and that's not pay for performance.
Yes, sir.
That's what's happened in years past.
That's a good pay for performance system, will have metrics to it, and it will help the department head know and figure out who's good and who isn't good, and this person should get nothing. And if somebody gets no increase, the other question is, why are they there in the first place? Or how can you help them improve so that if they are thought of as being a valuable employee for other reasons, then help them get to the point of where they are a true valuable employee. But no, it's pay for performance is good. We used it at the hospital when I was there. Dr. Finnerty is CEO today. They're still using it, and it is a good system, and it can work. It's not easy, but it can work. Thanks. I'm sorry I have to leave.
That's all right. Thank you, Mr. Dawes. Thank you. We will recess, and we will recess for 10 minutes
10 minutes.
this time.
Yes, that's
this time we will reconvene our meeting. And the next item that we will take up will be the determination of the COLA and the pay performance for 2026.
Can we take a quick break, Blair, while it's fresh in my mind, explain my little picture up here?
Take a break?
Not a break, but just can I talk about what this is real quick about income taxes and what will happen in 2028, 2027?
It's okay.
Okay, so, I spoke with Adam Sturwald yesterday on this to make sure I was right, and he said we're on the same line. So, if you look at the big box, that's Hendricks County, so on our 2027, we're gonna have to redo all of our income tax rates for 2028, so 2 years from now. So the big box, that'll have everything that needed to operate the county, which is all of our sheriff roads, all the employees, everything. And I think Adam said, and I agree, that if we did that and didn't have to do anything else, it'd be about a 0.85% income tax rate. But we also now have to pass a tax rate for all the fire places and for the libraries, since they cannot levy an income tax. So our rate will be, what's the most the county can have, 1.2? So our rate will be somewhere between 0.85 and 1.2, where it's currently 1.7%.
Right.
The people in the oranges, so that's Pittsburgh, these are towns bigger than 3,500, so Pittsboro, Danville, Brownsburg, and Plainfield. They will pay the county plus fire plus library plus whatever town rate they come up with, which could be up to, what's the total? It could be-
There's 1.2 also.
And you know the law do 1.2.
Exactly. So people in the towns are all gonna be paying, in those big towns, are all gonna be paying at least 0.5% more than they're paying right now, up to almost 0.7% more in income taxes. The people in the small towns, I didn't draw them because it doesn't really matter because they can't pass a tax rate. They're gonna have to come to us and ask us to pass a rate for them to get the income taxes they need to operate. So the people in the blue area, so you're not in the orange buckets, we now have to pay for county, fire, and library, plus a rate big enough to give all the small towns the money they need to operate. So myself, that doesn't live in a town, I live in unincorporated Hendricks County, I will now be paying income tax to support Lisden, Amo, Coatesville, Stylesville, all those towns. But people that live in the orange boxes, they don't have to do that. And that to me is, we're going to have separate income tax rates. Counties that levy separate tax rates for people that live in big towns versus not. So my question to Jeff is going to be, why do I have to subsidize every small town's operation, but people live in the big towns don't have to? I just wanted to, another bullet point I'm gonna speak with them about.
Yeah, because of the new legislation.
Yes, if it stays the way it is.
If it stays this way.
Can I ask one question, how you interpret county fire? Are we talking about
Every fireplace in the.
even the territories? We have to support the
The
territories.
way I understand it, because they have no way to levy income tax anymore.
The town doesn't have to use their 1.2 for that?
I don't think so, the way it's
Yeah, and I'm
written.
confused about that.
I am too, so it is
Ambiguous.
yes, ambiguous,
We do have to support Avon Fire
yes.
and Middle Township, because they're
Exactly.
township
Yes.
fire departments
Exactly.
rather than,
So we're only going to have the max at 1.2.
But you can only levy a 0.4, so we can't even do 0.4 because we have to do the towns and everything else, but this, and this is where I said that this proposal is targeted, it may be unintentional, but this tax proposal really hammers lower income people that either don't have a house, or live in a town, or have a house that's valued at $180,000 less.
Or
Because
less.
if you're at $180,000 less, all of our rates are gonna go up because net assessed values are gonna go down. So with the difference between the homestead and the 66% reduction, everybody that's not currently capped is going to be capped, and they're gonna pay more. So people with $180,000 are gonna have a higher property tax payment, and if you live in the town, you're paying about 1% more in income taxes.
Yep.
So it's truly, but somebody, like myself that lives out in the county, I'm gonna be paying less than income taxes, and my, property taxes are gonna go down. So it really pushes the burden to run all of these units of government to lower income people with lower assessed value houses.
Derek, if I may,
Yeah.
so I can understand better, if the county levies 1.2%, which is our max.
Yes.
And the town also levied 1.2%,
Yes.
their max. I live in town, I would be paying 2.4%, is that accurate?
No, because you will not be paying the small town requested rate, so it's gonna be a little bit less than 2.4, because
So it'll probably be more than 2, but.
it'll be more than 2, but less than 2.4.
Okay, so it's not quite double, but it's close.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. And this is all my understanding, that I talked with the guy that's pretty smart on all this. I just want to make you aware of it, that that's what is coming if they don't make changes.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up for your analysis on that. Thank you very much for doing that. We now will see if we can determine for 2026 our COLA rate and our pay for performance, or combo. Comments?
Just with respect to COLA, we had established, 2 years ago, I think, how COLA was gonna be determined, and we promptly then the next year disregarded that. So if, I don't know, if we're gonna continue to disregard what we had.
How did we disregard it?
Because we had established, I think it was 2 years ago, that the COLA would be, I forgot which.
Midwest region.
Midwest, okay.
It's the Midwest region
Right.
CPI.
That's
We
what
used a different number than that.
That's
in
what,
the years.
what it was in December of the previous year.
Right,
Right.
but that's what, and that's what we were gonna do.
Well,
except then we didn't.
Well, except, that was what we were going to do if we felt that we had the funds, the money to reach that level. We wouldn't have to do that.
Which still makes it arbitrary, and that was my concern.
Well, but I don't know that it's arbitrary if we don't have funds.
I agree, I
Like-
agree.
Nancy, how many years did we do? We did, the first COLA, the first 2 years was like 1%.
Yeah, it's probably been 5 years ago.
Was it 5?
Yeah, yeah, it's been,
And then I think, then we had a big one that came in.
we did 7 one year.
Yeah, that averages like a
Yeah,
10% for a 3-year
which made
period.
it 3%, average of 3%, like our old way of
I'm,
doing it.
I'm thinking, Larry, we could be going into year 5 or 6
Yeah,
potentially.
Okay, I was.
It's crazy.
To be honest with you, now, what was the COLA for 2025?
It was 3.2%, and then, performance on top of it,
And that was one?
One.
Just one? Okay.
one something.
So
1.4.
total 4.2% is what we
I think
picked
it was
up.
4.5%.
Yeah, it was 4.5 in
Okay.
total.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna say this is year number 5.
Okay.
Really.
2026 would be year 5.
Yeah, I
So,
think.
Okay.
so we're in our 4th year now.
Okay, I didn't, been in that long.
So what was the number established this year? I've seen 2.7.
It was 3 even.
That was based
December
on-
31st.
Yeah, December's what the been sort of the standard month.
It's lower
Right.
now supposedly.
I,
Not at the grocery, but.
I think about a month ago, I emailed, forwarded to you a report that was, I believe it was from Gallagher, I think, Associates, something on that order,
It was
where,
Gallagher.
where it had what private sector, and then what they thought some counties were gonna be considering for 2026. And then since that time, Erin has shared with me, she's been able to get some information on some of the other counties that have already gone through their budgeting thing. And I think the last time we talked, they ranged anywhere from 0 to 3%. And there was, it appeared that several of them were going to be at 2.5. And 2.5 was kind of a number that the Gallagher, excuse me, the Gallagher report had as far as private sector also. But that's a month ago, so, but I mean, to give you some idea of what may be going on.
When it comes to COLA, I don't know that we should necessarily give much credence to what other counties have done, because frankly, Hendricks County is in a lot better
Yeah.
condition fiscally than most counties.
I agree with you, that the couple of handfuls of counties, the zeros and the
Right.
1%ers they're struggling financially.
Yeah.
Yes.
My suggestion would be to use the 3, to hold it.
My suggestion would be to use what Plainfield's doing, and it's 3% across the board, and that's just, you give it out as paper performance, that's the easiest way to do it. That's just their raise, that's their raise,
So
they get 3%.
the department head could essentially decide, I'm gonna use this much for COLA and give everyone this much, and then divvy out performance, or just do it all as performance if they want.
Well, it's not fair really, because the COLA has a purpose, and that is to maintain pay to meet the increased cost of living. So I would definitely be opposed to the idea of combining COLA with performance. I just think it would be unfair to many employees.
Eric, I think we're already seeing some elected officials are abusing that.
As an elected official, the only tool we have to have them not do that is to say your department, if you can't do this effectively, your department does not get any raises this year.
And
But again, it's not fair to the employees.
Right, but it's.
That hurts the
We
employees.
did that to the courts once.
Right.
Well, last year, one of our departments did not turn in their performance evaluations, and so we denied them being able to do a pay for performance, which then, that affected their employees, but their management,
We had one last year that didn't do it,
yes.
We have one right now that is not all turned in. It's elected. Huh?
If you take 34 million times 3%, which is roughly our wages, right? That's $1.2 million, or $1.020 million to give it 3%.
And
It's-
add on
it's
your
a-
perf and everything else onto that.
It'd be 1.2 increase in our wages, right? Because it-
Plus the add-ons of
And-
taxes,
Social
perf.
Security.
And then you
Social
put on
Security.
top of that, so you just about, whatever you raise
It's about
the
20.
COLA, then your benefits are gonna be half that,
Yeah.
or on that order. So,
I agree with what Larry is saying, and I agree with what Eric's saying, and I think Eric is more applied for the private sector that I would agree with. I think with Larry saying the COLA, I think when we did this wage study, that was to help keep us within that range.
in the market for
In the
each
market.
pay grade.
So that way, whatever pay grade it is, it'd go along with the COLA and continue to raise, which I think is a little bit of some discussion that we're trying to have in a roundabout way with some employees that's already capped that top end.
Since we're saying what we're individually thinking, my own thinking is 2.5% for the COLA, and then 1% that we would have for the available for the pay for performance. Now, that's me, so, but we're a council and there's 7 of us, so.
Regardless of what percentages we come up with, I think we ought to make the COLA and performance distinct and not try to commingle those two. They ought to be treated separately.
But why? Nowhere else other than here
Because
are
the
they.
cost of the,
But nowhere else in the real world is it that way.
sure it is.
No, it's not.
Other government probably is.
Other government, yes. In the real world, no. You get a pool of money to give your employees a raise. And you can give some people none, you can give some people twice what your pool is. You have a pool of money to use, and you can use it however you want to see fit, based on your, it has to balance with your reviews, But there's no cost of living in any,
So you would do away with the cost of living?
it is there, this is how much money you have to give to your employees for a raise. And you figure out how best to distribute it based on their performance.
That would be fantastic if we could guarantee that the elected officials would do it. And I don't think we have some that would not do it intentionally, and there are some that probably wouldn't understand it, do it correctly. But, I've already seen it being abused now, and I think that would be even worse.
So then the elected officials that do that, we drop their pay. I mean, that's,
Yeah.
the only thing we can do is affect the pay of them or the raises for the departments. That is the only thing we can do as a council. We can't make them do anything else.
But you hurt the employees more than the elected officials.
It's their boss hurting them because they're not following the rules.
Eric?
Then decrease that elected officials' pay.
Eric, with what,
And you can't ever do that.
They can.
with what you're
Why
talking.
can't we?
There's some law against
Yeah,
decreasing
yeah.
elected
Yeah, you
officials'
can't
pay.
do, you can't do research.
Yeah, it's
You
crazy.
always raise it, you
It's
can't
insane.
do
They
research.
did it at Washington Township.
Yeah,
It might be just counties, but I don't think you can lower.
yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that somewhere.
Yeah, it's some oddball statutory
We
thing, but,
we had that issue
Not within
years
their term.
back.
yeah, right, not within the
Okay,
term.
so the
Maybe
next-
at budget time you could.
Within the next person, yeah, that'd be it.
So a question for Eric, with what you're talking about, just a pool of money, then would that raise the bands for, so to your point, I'm gonna give you 4%, then those bands would raise 4% of each of those grades as well. To whereas right now, those grades are only raising with the COLA.
I thought they were
Right.
raising the entire amount. So
I think
that was this disconnect in communication in the past. They should be raising the total pool, because that department's entire salary is going up by that much, or it can.
So I think to your point, I think that will sort of adjust some of these problems that we're
Yes.
up against too on the high end of the ranges of those grades.
Right.
I think.
That's why I would be in favor that the maximum on each pay grade would be equal to the COLA, or would be,
The total.
The total
by the
package.
total
package.
of COLA and pay for performance.
Well, this
But
is.
that's only for new employees, because nobody makes what the scale says
No,
anymore.
it works for everything, because no matter what you're making, if somebody wants to give 3%, so say this year, our total is 3%, and they give it however they want. Say their total department, pay is $100,000. They now have $103,000 to spread among their employees. So that means.
So you use actual pay,
And
not
they
the
still
chart pay.
can't go
Yes,
past the
yes.
maximum.
Right.
They're
Correct.
still limited by that.
Yes.
This is the third time that we've done this, what we used to call merit pay, in the prior, 2 times we've done it. And the problems that we had were several. One is that in some instances, the department head would favor a friend, and that friend or friends would get the lion's share of the money appropriated for that department. And another problem was that in some instances, since our salaries are public information, so if you give a raise, everybody knows about it, but in some instances, the department head didn't want to be in the position of picking one or more over the others, wanted to maintain some sort of I guess satisfaction, happiness among the department, so everyone got the same rate, neither of which accomplishes what the concept of performance pay is supposed to be. And maybe human nature has changed since we've tried this before, but I have some doubts. And another thing that concerns me is as I understand how this works, if you get an increase, performance pay increase, that increase continues on for as long as you're an employee. So you could come into work for Hendricks County on year one, do a bang-up job, you get a performance increase, and we'll pay you for that work for that 1 year for the next 30 years.
That's the way it works
And
everywhere else.
Well,
Yeah, and I totally disagree with, I totally think it's being, I agree with Larry, totally, because we had, somebody give their one employee their entire, plus their own, so they got like $3,000, like, if that person moves.
That is a management issue.
yeah,
And if our elected officials and department heads can't follow this easy concept, they're making way more than they should be, because anybody making what they're making in the private sector would be able to do this, no problem. Like, this would take me about 10 minutes to do when I was managing a lot of people. It's not hard at all.
I also have been there, and it is that way in that.
I would think that a better, fairer way of doing this, and it makes a more rational approach to me, is if you're gonna have merit pay, which I'm opposed to begin with, because of the problems that I've expressed, if you're gonna have it, have that pay, that merit increase paid in a lump sum after that year.
Well, but you're talking about a bonus rather than.
I'm talking about a bonus, yeah, exactly.
You're talking bonus versus the employee improving themselves in that particular pay range.
But
They-
then
but
next
they-
year, they.
If they improve themselves, they're working their way up in that pay range. And then if they're improving themselves, then they're providing better service for our county.
But they can do that the next year, perform,
Well, and they
and
can.
it's an incentive each year to do well.
Well, but
Rather than doing well 1 year.
The only way to
or
fix this is to
contribute.
go back to the way we did it before, everybody gets paid the same. I mean, you will have, unless we do, I make a motion that we make everybody pay the same midpoint of all pay ranges. That solves all these problems, and we get rid of all of it.
say that.
That's my motion, that we take everybody back to the midpoint for all of the positions, everybody gets paid the same, there is no performance, we give them a cost of living every year, that's my motion.
We have a motion, is there a second?
That's what you guys are trying to accomplish. Nobody's gonna second that, but that's what you're trying to accomplish. It really is.
Well.
There's gonna be growing, if that's what you want, then let's do it.
We have a motion without a second, so can we proceed with?
Motion dies for a second.
Yes.
Well,
Okay.
personally, I'm leaning toward either the 2.5 or the 3, and then 1% into the merit pool, like we did last year.
Just another comment, we spent a lot of money in having this, the evaluations done to come up with something that's coherent as far as pay. And with the way this performance pay is to operate, we're gradually deconstructing that. And I don't know how far we have to go before we have to start over again.
It's still intact because they have to stay within the range.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, but.
So there's only those 4 people who are not, that I gave you yesterday.
I'm gonna say it's that one list, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Like,
somewhere here in my
it,
stack.
the scale is still working, cause they have to stay within that scale.
But you've got people all over the place.
That's the way it is everywhere in the real world, except for where everybody gets paid the same. So the answer is it's gonna be that, or everybody gets paid the same. Those are our two choices.
To prohibit somebody from giving their entire performance-based pay raise portion to 1 or 2 people, can we cap it? Can we say you can't give more than, say, 2% out of your performance to any one person?
Or a certain dollar amount, or.
Yeah.
But they're still gonna abuse the system and do that anyway, so it's.
It will be abused. You're correct. The only way to not abuse it is if we set the rate. And it doesn't have to be in the midpoint, but if we just said, okay, instead of 3% for COLA and 1% for performance, it's 4% period. Everybody's getting 4%. That's the only way if you truly want it to be equitable across the board.
Here's a question for the attorney. To Chuck's point, can we be very specific to departments that they can just get a COLA and not their performance, or a certain amount of performance? Or do we have to keep it fair across the board for everyone?
We can go through each person line by line and set their pay.
Yeah.
That's council.
As council, we can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think, to a little bit of Chuck's point, if we see this being abused, and to Eric's point, we could take some action in saying, this is what our COLA is across the board. This is what the performance is. And for certain departments who's not doing their evaluations or maybe fudging on their evaluations, we could even reduce their performance and all they get is COLA. And maybe that'll send a message.
I can tell you that based off of last year I went and talked to the department heads or elected officials that had issues with their performance. Some of those have still got the same issues this year, that they turned in.
Repeated.
Yeah, they are repeated, the ones that I've looked at. Now, the ones that we just got, we don't know who's gonna give a raise because none of that's been worked out or established. So we're looking at like last winter's that was done and completed like last November, October, November, right in there. Some of those, they are still skewed. So I've given Larry the information and he is going to meet with those department heads and elected officials and talk to them about it. Because obviously some of them are still doing what they had done the year before after I had talked to them. So you still have some issues, but we're also on the second year of them really kind of getting through this in this, in this software package and doing it this way. The biggest issue one of the biggest issues I'm seeing is that obviously your points are not equating out with what your raise amount is. So somebody who's getting 12 points might have got 2,500, where somebody who got 16 points only got 1,000. So that's not balancing out, right? And some of them are also still, they're giving like the 1, 2, 3, or 4, but they're not giving a reason of why they're giving those people those points. So there's two big issues right now with the performance reviews that we've got. And like I said, we've gone over it, he's gonna talk to them about it, and try to get some of this stuff corrected. Now, they haven't turned in their information yet for this year as far as what their increased amount would be, because obviously you're establishing that right now. So I don't know that. I do have everything else out, though, figured out, like how many points did everybody get and all of that. I just don't have their increases to know who's giving money to what. Some departments are also still giving everybody straight across the board. Everybody gets it. Everybody gets the exact same amount.
And when you're doing these kind of raises, you can't look at dollar amounts, you have to look at percentages. Because somebody in your department that's making $80,000,
Right.
the 3% is gonna get 2,400.
Right.
Somebody that's making 60 is gonna get less than that. So you can't look at dollar amounts, you have to look at percentages.
I worked with an elected official last year who gave Susie a raise because she sat next to Janie, who got a raise because they sat side by side.
Then these elected officials.
So, I mean,
And that's
it's,
the
I
problem.
don't know how you,
It's not just-
deal with that.
Mhm.
Cut their pay, I don't.
With elected officials.
So, and I'll admit, I'm one that, well, I don't know if I did last year, but I did across the board because, let's use the example of deduction deputies. They all do fine, they all do a good job. So you pick one of them to give to, they sit side by side. I'm a bad boss, maybe I'm a bad boss, but you don't know what problems that causes within a department, because they all think they do a good job. But if they're all equal, they all wait on the counter, they're nice to the people, they're not swearing at them, spitting at them, hitting them, they're taking them down for help, they're all good. They're all good, and
Right.
so I don't like it, call me a poor boss.
But right now, last year, we gave the COLA, and then you had the merit budget. And the department heads divvied out the merit side, and we had nothing to say about that. Could we, and as Dave kind of alluded to, could we on that 1% merit budget, they make suggestions on that, and it has to be approved by our council president.
I want no part of going through every single person's taking this.
Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna stop it. One elected official from abusing that pool. Unless, like Chuck was saying, you could say, you have 1% in this pool, and you can give up to 1% to any one employee. But you can't give one employee 2% and one employee 0. So we could cap it and just say, that way it keeps them from abusing more than 1%.
And I don't want everybody to have the thought that everybody's abusing it. Every department is
No.
completely different, has completely different issues.
Unfortunately,
Law enforcement
right.
would have way more standards of importance on their law things, where the department heads are not all bad people. They're just, it's just hard. And
One ruins it for everybody.
Well,
That's the problem.
Nancy, you're correct, it's not all of them.
And they can exchange they can do their evaluation the same way.
Aaron-
They're gonna give their favorite a
Aaron-
good evaluation.
Aaron and I have met 3 times, going through the, not each evaluation, but what the results were in each department and in each elected office. And I already have a list of those that we need to pay, or that I need to pay a visit with them, because of exactly what she's saying. The performance thing might be 16 points and a big pay for performance raise versus somebody with something higher and got something low, the crisscross. In other words, they don't have to be exact because of the evaluation system, but they need to be in some kind of order. And some of them are nowhere near in any kind of order.
And we told them
And-
the first
and-
year, I think,
and
on
there-
another vote, we said
and
there's
there-
no rules.
And there's
no
also,
rules. We need
there's
many
also
rules.
departments
It's
that
like being
have,
an adult.
have listed everybody equal. And there can be a tendency for that to happen in a unit, as you were just talking about in the particular unit. But the smaller the department, or the smaller the office is, then there's potential for it to be that close. But there is a trick question that I can ask. How did you select your chief deputy out of them if they're all equal? So and I have not done that yet, because if some haven't come in. But also, the main reason I haven't paid those visits is because I don't know what we're going to come up with today.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, this is our first year doing performance evaluations. Based on just that one time, what you guys are treating pay for performance is you want them to use the evaluation as a matrix and guarantee that they're gonna pay the performance according to that matrix. Cause you're saying if they get a 1, they should get equivalent to a 1, but the evaluations are not set up that way.
Yeah.
They are not good,
And-
they are a piece of poop.
They're not there to be a direct correlation, they're there to help you rank your people on, that might make sense.
Yeah, so I'm saying that you cannot use that evaluation and say, this person got a 1, so they deserve this percentage of a raise. It doesn't, it's not a matrix.
You guys
Well,
need to
and
look
I'm
at
not
the
saying that.
evaluation. It's not,
I
it's.
used it for,
It's stupid.
Yeah.
but the most important question's on there. If this person came to you and said you were leaving, what would you do?
Yeah, I
That's the
like
most
that
important
one.
question on there.
Right.
I like
The
that
people
one.
The people that you would lose your mind, they get the biggest raises. People would say, like, let the door hit you in the butt, you give them the lowest, and you just make a list. It's that easy. It's that easy.
It's not, it's too simple. I think it's, when I first saw it, it's like that game little girls played with yes, no, color, blue, you pick that, and then you do this. That's exactly what I thought that system was. It's
A lot of-
so simplified, like,
A lot of
do
the
you feel
questions-
valued?
A lot of the questions were set towards the surveys that they took. Some of the questions are standard key questions. They're gonna be there, that's the software questions. But a lot of the questions were also set for when Red Envelope was hired and they sent out those surveys and they met with everybody. And of course, you guys weren't there when they did the trainings on them, cause you weren't in office yet. But they explained a lot of the stuff during those training sessions about how this was supposed to be done. But a lot of the questions were set based off of what everybody believed were top priorities for our county. So a lot of they sent these out to everybody, so a lot of department heads and elected officials and people gave feedback. Well, they also didn't get feedback from everybody, but that's how they came up with the questions that they came up with on that actual survey that's what Red Envelope did.
So do the evaluations, from what I'm gathering from Ann and Nancy and Eric a little bit, are the evaluations a standard for every department, and do they need to be
Yes.
changed based on let the elected official or department head come up with, and I've never done one of these, so this is just a farm boy talking. You have 5 or 6 questions,
Yes.
and you, as the elected or department head, need to determine what the evaluation is.
I don't know if
They
it's-
are,
Is that, should that be more in the
they're
ballpark?
standard questions. However, when you get to Jack's office, they have to do a lot more. So his merit guys, they have a different form altogether. They don't put theirs in here. They don't do theirs in here. They send me the forms. Now the forms, I download them and get them in here. Bridget Collins, same thing, DOC. It's a little bit different. Now she does do this, but she also does her DOC evaluations. And we get those also uploaded into here. But other than that, everybody across the board has the exact same questions. So it's a self-assessment and it's a blind assessment. So it's a self-assessment where the employee completes their half and then the manager completes their half. Until they both submit their assessment information, they cannot see what the other person has put. And that's that, obviously, that's the way you want it, because that could also create a bias. If I say, hey, this person, my employee's horrible, blah, 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 well, that might change the way that Kim would say, hey, well, this is the worst boss ever. You know what I mean? It would create a bias. So it is a blind assessment with questions that are set that are geared towards everybody here. Like I said, other than merit and other than work release, use it.
So with that being said, would this be at a time with these evaluations, and again, I'm not well versed on this, but here's a person over here with a lot of experience in an elected position, a newly elected person, and there's a department head over there with a lot of experience. Is this where the elected officials and department heads should get together as a group and come up with evaluation questions that should be presented maybe to the council or to the HR and say, here's what we think it should be?
But that was what was done with Red Envelope.
The standard questions on there are enough to evaluate any employee. Even with all the special ones, it's, what does this person do well? What does this person do okay on? And what does this person need help working on?
Yeah.
And then there's, what would you do if this person came to you and left? And there's about 4 questions that really matter as how you're, it's a way to track employee performance. So if somebody doesn't perform over years, you can get rid of them. It is a way to, if somebody's doing good, reward good working employees. And if somebody is doing, they're performing the way they should, then they're just middle of the road and they're gonna get the middle of the road raises going forward.
They're all subjective though, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
everything in life is subjective.
It's, for the manager side, what are some things that the employee does well? How could the employee improve? Talks about professionalism. In interactions with community members and coworkers, we demonstrate competence, knowledge, conscientious, integrity, respect, and confidence. How the employee displayed the professionalism during the performance season. Accountability. We're accountability to our constituents and all members of our community. We follow the public standards. We follow through. We ensure our community members' needs are met for our standards. How has the
How do you
employee
gra-
been
how-
accountable?
How do you put numbers in for those? You give them a
One
numerical number?
through four. It's 1 through 4, yeah. Then the next one is integrity. We continue to demonstrate our principles and values through our conduct with community members and coworkers. We do the right thing even when nobody is watching. We take responsibility for our action. How has this employee demonstrated integrity during the performance season? Teamwork. We recognize we have interdependencies that are required to meet the common goal of serving our community members. We work together and respect every department as being necessary to success of our goal. How has the employee utilized teamwork? So those are the questions on the manager side. The employee side, basically, they come up to pretty much the exact same thing. It's the first question is, how does the county recognize my value? What would have the greatest impact on my ability to do my best job? What are some things I do well? How could I improve? Then it goes through the professionalism, accountability, integrity, and teamwork also. But those last 4 questions were the questions that Red Envelope came up with based off their surveys. So this is based off the feedback. One of the biggest things that our employees want here in department heads and elected officials is accountability. That was one of the top 5 things that people wanted here, was accountability. Well, they want accountability, right, until you may say something to them, and then they might not want accountability at that point. But accountability is one of the top key things that everybody wants here. So, this is how they came up with these questions. It's based off of that survey. So it was asked to department heads, elected officials, and employees. Everybody gave their feedback.
Jack, does it used to be that your matrix was based on a first year road deputy, and then everything, is based on years of rank and years of service. Is that still the case?
Still the same, yes.
Okay.
So when we would do our annual evaluations, because obviously we deal with complaints, and do they get their reports done? Do they turn everything in on time? Are they showing up to court? Are they, there's just a lot to it. How many traffic stops that they make? How many arrests? How many OWIs? There's just so much to it. And we really tried to take out a lot of the, well, I can give them a 5 or I can give them a 2, whether I like them or not. You really can't. You gotta look at the numbers. How many did they get? And that will give you your scale of what you can score them. So we've really honed that, but it takes a long time for our supervisors to do that evaluation. And they do bi-monthlies. Every 2 months they meet with the deputies, they have conversations with them, they check their equipment, they check their car, they make sure that everything is being kept up to standards. But they're not also, they don't get paid for performance, right?
Right.
Because they're on the matrix, they don't get to pay for performance, so.
And that's measurable, which I think
Yeah.
ours needs to be some way to measure, like being on time, that doesn't ask if you're on time.
Yeah.
Well, you got somebody late 5 days, so you'd like to mark it down for that reason, except the general category of whatever that would fall into. Some specific things that they do well, or, and every department's different, because the auditors people talk to people at the counter. Some people never have counter business, so it's.
Different job.
Yeah.
We use our evaluations for promotions and for specialty assignments and that kind of thing, right? So if you're not a high performer and you put in for a promotion, the person who is a high performer is going to have a higher score than you when we look at the evaluations. We do other things, we do interviews, we do a lot of other things to look at their background, their experience before we do those things. But evaluations play a key role in us promoting and moving people forward.
Mr. President, I move that we establish COLA for 2026 at the rate of 3%, excluding for the time being probation.
Probation.
I don't know if the state is,
They have support staff too there, though.
oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
The probation.
Other than probation officers.
Probation has a matrix now, so.
Right, but that's.
And we're
state.
raising the sheriff's matrix by 3% too, right?
I'm sorry?
We're raising the sheriff's matrix by 3% too.
Right, right.
And the
Yeah.
jail.
And the jail, yes. Everybody else except for.
That's my motion.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that. Does that mean we're not doing any performance at all this year? Everybody just gets.
No, I'm just dealing with COLA.
We have a motion and a second to establish COLA for 2026 at 3.0%. And we have a second.
Eric.
I second it. I'm gonna vote against it, but I'm gonna second.
Okay, so is there further discussion?
I'm voting against it because I think that should be our total raise pool and all be it's all performance. That's why I'm voting against it. And I don't wanna go above it for performance, so that's why.
Any other discussion? Okay, we have a motion and a second for establishing COLA for 2026 at 3.0%. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
We have a motions, 6.
Any abstentions? Okay, just one.
6-1, so we've established COLA at 3.0. Now,
And let me make another motion. I move that we increase the upper limit for salary ranges by 4%, and that whatever that increase in dollars would be, also increases the lower range of each salary range.
So just increase the whole range by 4%.
your motion is that the Actually, each pay grade range, the range itself would increase 4% for 2026, which automatically
Correct.
takes the low up to the high, the total range.
Well, how's,
It's a minimum, mid, and max, so you would
Okay,
just
but-
shift everything to 4%.
Yes.
well, but 4% of the lower range is not gonna be the same as 4% of the upper range. That's
Yes,
why.
it is.
So-
4% of a number is the same as a 4% of a number.
Yes.
It is
So-
the same.
The-
Yeah.
the
So,
rate-
have we not already voted to raise it by 3% by doing the COLA?
That's
So
what I'm
COLA
saying.
not already do that automatically?
No.
It goes up by 3% with the COLA.
I know that, but so technically we'd be looking at another 1%? Is that accurate?
I did not
Yeah.
understand the
They're-
one of that.
Well, they're not the same. I mean, they're not, the COLA and the salary range are not necessarily connected.
No, they are, because each pay grade has a range.
Right.
From the low to the high.
Right.
And so if you apply 4%, as you're saying in your motion, then that entire range.
The range shifts.
The range shifts 4%.
Right.
So someone coming in to a job that is open next year, that is going to, the beginning pay on that will be 4% higher than it is this year.
The bottom of the range.
The bottom.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yes.
starts at the bottom.
Pardon?
Nobody starts
Well,
at the bottom.
well, but the range gets treated 4% all the way
Right,
across.
but that's separate from COLA.
Now, that
No.
makes sense if we put 1% into the pay for performance.
They're not connected.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, the only thing that makes,
I'm just saying,
what you're saying makes sense, 4 versus 3%. But the 3%,
changing the range doesn't change the salaries.
yeah, but why is it 4%?
Oh, I just picked 4%, so it wouldn't be confused with a 3% COLA.
But the 3% COLA is automatic. The range goes up 3% if we raise the COLA 3%, so that's done.
Yeah, the range is up.
The rate, COLA doesn't affect the range.
Yeah, it
Yes,
does.
it does.
We have set up a.
Does COLA,
The pay ranges go up.
if we increase COLA, does it change the range
Yes.
or whatever percentage?
Every
we
year
increase?
it has increased based
Yeah.
on
By
Okay.
COLA.
Yeah.
So we've already increased the range by 3% by voting for 3% COLA.
Exactly.
That's accurate?
Yeah.
Yes.
So to meet what Larry's going, we'd have to raise it another 1%. That would be the pay for performance. That's what they could use it out of. And in theory, if we made it, so we could say, okay, you can't do more than 1%. If somebody doesn't get paid for performance, they get 0 of that 1%. If they are a moderate performer and they deserve some, they might get 0.5%. If they're a great performer, they get 1%, they could get no more than that. Is that accurate?
No.
But that's not the way it is right now.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is right now,
We
we
couldn't
can
get
do
your really
that.
good performers anything
Okay.
other than one, so.
But we could make that, if that was a motion, we could do that. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
I guess, I said the COLA is not connected with the range. That's, if someone's at the top of the range, then the COLA,
Well, if they're at the top of the range this year, and now we have the 3% COLA, they then would be able to get a 3% raise.
correct.
Because the range of each pay grade moves up. And so we're already at 3. In your motion for.
And they would still be at the top of the range, but they would get a pay increase.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
But your motion with the 4% has some confusion in it. If you're going to increase that range 4%, then what would be that extra 1%? Which I believe Chuck and I myself have interpreted that would then be for the pay for performance.
No.
Well, then.
But, I mean, it gives you room for that. But,
but
yeah.
I wasn't sure if the motion was.
If you're paid, if you've gotta say, let's say the top of the range is $100, and your salary is, $80. No, say the bottom of the range is $80. You're being paid $90. If you get a 3% increase, that doesn't change the range at all. You're still within the range, even with a 3% increase for
Well,
cost of living.
for you yourself, but the range needs to change in order to keep up with the market.
Yeah, the new employees coming in,
But you could set your upper range anywhere.
No.
Yeah.
Mr. President, was there a second on the motion?
I do
Nope.
not believe so.
Yeah. Call for a
We
second, no second.
we have a, what did you say?
Call for a second, see if we can say.
Is there a second to the motion? Not hearing one, the motion dies.
I'll make a motion to make performance 1%.
We have a motion to make the pay for performance for 2026 1%.
Is that a maximum 1%, David?
1% for whatever that total budget is for that department.
It-
I
It's
understand,
for
but
each
to be
bud-
awarded per person, are we giving a maximum?
I think I wanna just try the performance now, and I think,
Yes,
to
sir.
your point, I think then let's follow up to sort of make sure it has the caveat to your point.
The impact restriction. I will second this motion.
Okay, so we
It's
have.
$1,360,000. Anybody concerned about the numbers?
Okay, so we have a motion for the 2026 pay for performance to be 1%, and we have a second.
For clarity, when you say, is that?
Three
I
plus
understand-
one.
I understand, is that what is the plus one, does that, because that doesn't include anybody who's in the matrix, right? Because they don't get any pay for performance.
No.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, anybody in
Yeah,
matrix
so
doesn't
that
get
does
paid.
not include,
It
right,
is-
and that's a significant number.
It is not any of the
Okay,
matrix.
so the pay for performance is gonna be a little less than that, but that's
what-
the 3% plus the 1%.
I think it's that, the matrix is, so I'll go by 4% then.
That's what Larry said.
No, what I'm saying is,
Let's
if you're going to
focus on
do
this
that,
one first.
because last year, all the matrices went up by 4.5 and not 3. We gave all the matrices and elected officials the total raise.
I thought they went
We
up.
gave elected officials, but I think we gave the, you know.
Yeah, they only got
Yeah.
Yeah, they only got
three. They only got the.
And that was a problem, we need to raise that by
Do you
the 4%.
see how much more complicated we're making everything by trying to have 2 separate pools? I mean, that's,
vote on this one.
Yeah. It's,
The-
Call for the question.
Okay, we have a motion to,
And
have,
it-
for
Oh, that's right.
2026.
I'm gonna vote against this because we had agreed earlier that with everything coming up and then we'd only limit this total to 3, so I'm gonna vote against it.
Okay,
I'm gonna vote against it because it still has all the warts and other parts that exist.
any further discussion? We have a motion for the pay for performance for 2026 to be 1.0%. We have a second. Without hearing any further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Let's take a count.
opposed.
Opposed.
4-3.
4?
4.
4?
Opposed?
4.
There is something in statute that Ron may wanna check, that financial, our wages have to have 2/3. I don't know, we've never run into the situation, but
The motion passes 4-3. And you have the votes then, okay.
And
Okay, so we now have established a quota and a pay for performance.
I would like to make a
And now we
motion,
need
please.
to approve the matrices.
And one quick note, to solve what the sheriff ran into, we need to adjust the pay rate by 4%.
That's what I would like to make a motion, if I may, sir.
Well, you may.
Okay. I would like to make a motion that the pay scales that exist all shift by the cost of living raise and the 1% pay for performance raise, so a total of 4%.
Is that all of the scales?
For all employees.
All for
Or
all of the
just
scales, that's correct.
Hours?
Except for probation.
except probation.
Except for probation.
Except for people in the matrix, yes.
Okay, we have a
Probation
motion.
matrix, right?
Pardon me?
Yeah.
And-
What was that,
And
Eric?
Probation.
Besides.
Oh, yeah, well.
And I don't know if you want this as a separate motion, but I'd like to add to that, and that the pay for performance is capped at 1% per employee.
Okay.
Is that permissible?
Can you make that a separate motion, please?
I can, yes.
Okay,
I'll
so,
I'll rescind the last part then,
okay, so your motion is,
to increase all of the pay scales by 4%, to include the 3% COLA and the 1% pay for performance. So all the pay scales will shift except the ones in the matrix.
okay, we
Which
have a
matrix?
motion.
Probation.
Probation?
Except, yeah, except.
So the sheriff's matrix will go up by 4%.
Yes.
I agree with that, okay.
Is there a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Wait, who seconded?
David. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0.
Separate motion, please, sir.
I'm sorry.
I would like to make another motion. I'd like to make a motion that the pay for performance be capped at 1% for each individual employee
For an employee.
for this year, for this coming year, for
So
26.
when the pool is set for a particular group, then no one in there could get more than the 1%.
That's accurate.
Of that pool.
They could get less than that, or they get nothing, but they could get no more than 1%.
Okay. We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
We have a motion and a second, further discussion.
So Chuck, with that, are you hindering somebody who's a performer, a better performer of the 1%?
You could be, but part of my issue with that is that we're only increasing the pay scale, so the people who are right at the top, they could not get more than that 1% anyway, because we're only moving the pay scales by 4%, so they can only get that 1% anyway. So you would be kind of punishing the people who have been top of the line performers for years and have reached that top level, and they can't get any more than that 1%.
You're attempting to control the abusers,
Yeah,
sort
a
of,
little
that.
You can put it that way.
Who would give the whole thing.
Yeah, who might give much more to one person than they probably should have.
If it hadn't been abused already, we wouldn't need it.
So we're doing what I hate to do, we're punishing everybody because a few people can't do their jobs. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Pretty much.
Great job, council.
Yeah, but how do you control,
I've already told you, we cut their budget or we cut their pay when we can. I mean, that's how we control it. That's the only power, we have the stick of that money. And if nobody in here has the thing to do with it, then we either need to go back to everybody gets paid the same, or, because nothing we're doing right now is gonna fix anything. It's gonna have the exact same problem we did before. Other than you're gonna limit how much you can increase the pay by.
Okay, we have a call for the vote, we have a motion. Could you restate that, please?
The motion is to cap any pay for performance pay raises at 1% per individual.
And we have a second for that motion. We will have a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we need to do individual.
I'll vote yes.
I oppose.
4.
4.
Opposed? Yes. What was that?
Yes.
4. So I believe that it's 5-2.
I've got a point that I'm gonna just stick an eye in the wind and twist it, so. Our animal control director, our computer center support specialist, our assistant superintendent, and our highway superintendent, do they not get raises anymore?
I would assume, no, they wouldn't.
They're all above the maximum for their pay grades.
If they're beyond the 4% that we just had,
Yeah.
I mean, if it was.
No, they're already above it before any of this happens.
I mean,
They're gonna be above it after this happens.
Well,
Yeah.
oh, they'll be above it
Oh,
after
yeah.
this happens?
Wait a minute. For history, animal control and the 2 IT guys were always above. So they carried over. And then the person who took Joe Piercy's place went to I think he came to the council and the commissioners to pay him $90,000 and it was agreed to. So, because nobody.
That's not my question. My question is, are they getting raises if they're above maintenance?
And then the commissioners gave Kurt a raise the same time he did, they
Being
did
above
the elected.
the range for their position.
Yes.
I would think not.
I
So-
would think however much they can go up to still fit into the new
They
wage
won't,
scale.
they're well above 3%.
Yeah, they're above it because of the pay area was out of whack.
Yeah, for my two employees, both of them are long tenured, 21 and 20 years. So that's just over the course of time. with-
They didn't lower anybody's pay, so, then they grew by the matrix.
That's, my question is, are they getting raises?
The COLA, not, so they get.
By our
COLA.
policy, they shouldn't get anything. Until the matrix catches up with them. If that's what you guys wanna do, that's fine, that's what we should be doing.
That's what we agreed upon. when
So did
we
they get a raise last
initiated.
year?
Yes, they got the COLA.
Then that, we
Did
broke
you
our own
follow
policy.
last year? Did you have to follow last year?
And they were already on top of what,
When those raises were given by like the commissioners and the count 90,000, nobody told them. Nobody, you guys didn't say to Joe, for Joe Piercy's position, you're not getting more. I mean, that's, we're talking about fairness, that's not fair to that guy. He wouldn't dream that he wouldn't ever get a raise again. Nobody discussed the maximum. That's, education is one of our huge weaknesses.
And communication.
Huge weaknesses.
And then my point of this is, then why are these people getting raises and the sheriff can't get his above it? That's my point.
if they're already above the expanded range for 2026, I don't think they would get an increase.
They're not gonna get an increase for the next 10 years then. For current, I'll make a motion, current employees can get COLA and performance, even if it's above the matrix for current employees right now going forward. Anybody new hired in, no, but for current employees, they can.
Talking to
If they're already above it.
If they're already at, any employee right now can go above, no, it's only 4 people, so it's
Yeah.
like, we're fixing this, any current employee that is right at, is at the max or above the max can continue to stay, can go above it because of where they're at in the pay.
any current employee.
Yes.
We have a motion, is there a second?
And unless something weird happens, it should only stick to these people, because as we move everybody else up, the whole band's will move up. That solves our problem, I think.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Is there further discussion?
Who seconded?
Hearing none. Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I went to recess for 10 minutes.
Mics are hot.
We're back.
Our next item, or items that we need to address, are we have requested new job positions. By my count, I have requests for 2 new part-time positions that would be new. We have the navigator request in the courts, and we have the part-time tax deputy in the treasurer. Would anyone care to make a motion or
Oh,
oppose?
we also have soil and
Yeah.
water.
Let's do one at a time.
Well, I'm just addressing part-time.
That's,
Well,
yeah.
soil and
that's
water.
part-
Oh, that is a part,
Yeah.
That was this one.
part-time for next year?
Yeah, because they want to,
Sorry, what?
they want to
Time
go
now.
full, and then they want to part. Yep.
Can we stay in the department? I hate to do that.
Okay. Well, we'll stay in the,
Courts.
we'll stay in the departments. Dave's requested that we do that instead of my adding them together. So we have the courts first.
How about we accept that full-time, or part-time position for the navigator? Or did, I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay, because there is a request for the navigator, which would be a new part-time.
New, for the kiosk.
For the kiosk, yes. The moving,
It's a part-time, 2 full-time.
I guess that's moving a part-time to full
They also want that
in the courts?
in the magistrate's office.
Oh, in
A court,
magistrate.
yes,
Oh.
court reporter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I made a motion, we approve the court's, part-time to full-time move.
is there a second?
Didn't you
Second.
already make that motion? Did you make a motion?
I did the navigator.
2 times
Oh.
navigator.
So do you want
Is
to?
that a motion? Or,
Well, wait,
I'm
wait.
sorry if I jumped you.
We've got,
I didn't see the,
I'm
I do remember the part-time and full-time. That position's already there, and she just is making it full-time.
Yeah.
So is your motion on the floor right now? Okay.
Yeah, to include that as,
Okay.
Do you want to amend your motion then?
I will amend the motion to include the part-time navigator and moving a part-time to full-time position.
What's on our sheet? You make that motion.
Okay. To full-time. My question about that, which we run into in payroll, is do we need a new you guys need a new number for the full-time, and leave the part-time there because they'll come back and want a part-time and it's there,
I mean,
or?
you need to change it to full-time now.
Okay,
Yeah.
just changing it full-time.
She changed full-time.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve moving the 1 part-time position to full-time and
Yeah.
to accept the new part-time position for the called the navigator for the kiosk in the courthouse. And we have a second
I second it,
from Chuck.
The,
Is there discussion?
the discussion would be on the navigator. I don't think we've established any type of salary on that.
I believe
Here was
it's-
on the grades.
Is it?
We're waiting on the grades to come back.
Yeah,
Megan's
so
out
I
of
would say
office.
the motion should say it depending on how that's established, yeah.
I think we're just approving the position, and then we can approve the grade later. Is that fair?
When they come back.
Yeah.
We can do that, yeah. But they're trying, I think they're gonna try to have some volunteers and stuff too, so, yeah, okay, yeah, I'm good.
Because Dave, I think to your point, just for in case the grade comes back and we don't agree with it, then we can always adjust that. So
Yeah.
I think to Nancy's point, let's just approve the positions
Yeah.
without the grade at this time.
Okay. Okay, further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Passes 7-0 for both of those positions in the courts. Next, we have the recorder, which is moving in employee benefits to the general fund, I guess that would be correct.
I thought she asked for that for next year, but I'm in favor of doing
But
it this
she,
year.
she
I-
meant,
She
she
did.
meant for 2026 year,
Okay.
not going into effect 2025.
Okay.
And I had not included that because I thought it was for 27 that
Yeah,
she was telling us
sounds like-
ahead of time.
Move to approve benefits go to general recorder.
So we have a move
Okay.
to approve the recorders. We have a second from Mr. Wyeth. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0.
Move to approve 3 new jail deputies.
Second.
We have a motion to approve all three, is that correct? For the
Yes.
jail, to approve all three new jail deputies, and we have a second
Chuck.
from Chuck, I believe.
Yes.
Is there further discussion?
Jack, when you say jail deputies, are you talking, is that just working in the building, or is that also include people that will be doing transporting?
It's gonna include both. Yes.
Good, if,
Yeah.
does it have any road duties too, or just?
Will they have road duties? No, they will not have road
That'd be
duties.
about everything except road duties.
They'll work within the facility and they'll also be out on transports, helping. And it just depends on where we need them at the moment, but yes, those additional bodies, once we have them filled, will allow us to have 2 transports and vans at all times without the overtime.
Now-
Plus coverage inside the facility.
And with the other discussion earlier, your population is not really up a lot more, but we're still kind of playing a little bit catch up, right?
We are.
And then will this allow you to add more beds?
There's a potential, we'll have to see once we get them hired, and obviously, if we stay at or nearly fully staffed, that'll help us as well.
Alright.
Right? But there's a potential, right? We've got some room, I will tell you, I mean, right now, we're doing a recovery program, so we have a women's block and a men's block, so we have a 24 block and a 16 block where we have men and women in there doing drug recovery. The Willow Center, we got a grant through the health department through the opioid funding. That program is going on right now. We are discussing with them, trying to make moves to get more participation in the program, so that may change some things. I know there was some discussion about like ICE and federal prisoners and that kind of thing. There are a lot of expectations and a lot of additional requirements when we do that. As far as funding goes, yes, it is the sheriff's decision to do that or not to do that. Obviously, ICE and federal detainees right now is a hot topic. And I want to make sure that we get the staffing that we need to be able to cover what we have first and foremost. And then we can have those conversations.
The way the jail is set up, you could very easily segregate juveniles. Is there any discussion with the state on maybe temporary juvenile holds versus us paying these large fees that we pay to transport to the state?
Statutory.
I know it is, but it has to
Yeah,
be
it is
something the
statutory.
state would. They
But
have
we
to
are
prove
holding
up.
a juvenile accused of murder right now. He was kicked out of the juvenile facility, so we're housing him now. We did do some modifications to the facility in anticipation that either we would have a female that we would have to isolate or a juvenile, because obviously taking up a 16 or 24 block for one person is not great for us, right? So,
Sure.
so we have rooms in the hallways that we have outfitted, that were actually completed about the same month that he got kicked out of the juvenile facility, so we've been able to house him. So we do have a juvenile, but we have to, there's a lot of requirements for us. We have to keep them out of eyesight and ear of the adult offenders, and that is difficult inside an adult facility, but we're managing with what we have right now. But we do have 2 rooms, one on each side, one in yellow and one in blue, that is 2 beds, so we could house up to 4 people.
Well, because we spend a lot of money on juvenile
Yeah.
detention.
Yes.
Anything we can do to house them, at least temporarily, if nothing else. Yeah.
Call for the question.
One moment, I have a concern about approving all 3 positions because there are 3 vacancies now. And so I was, in my thinking, perhaps we would add one now rather than all three. That since we've got the vacancies, the 3 vacancies needing to be filled, whether you'd be able to all of a sudden be able to fill 6 vacancies.
So if I could express, like I said, Tuesday, you know, we have 4 people currently, 3 in background, 1 in the waiting, to fill those 3 spots. It's not like the merit deputies. The merit deputies take us a year to fill and get them out on their own. The jail deputies are a couple months, at best. So, I will tell you that we started a process early this year for the 4 positions that we've got for 25. We had them filled January 1. So we'll be in the same position. We have people that want to come and work for us, and we will be able to fill those spots, unlike the merit side.
How long have we had these 3 vacancies?
So they come and go, right? It's in waves. We have an employee that we hire that says, I'm not cut out to work in the jail, and they leave. Obviously, we have to start a new process for that person. We have someone that gets hired as a police officer out to another
Yeah,
agency.
but I'm specifically wondering about these.
Specifically, these 3 positions, it's hard to say toggle-wise. We were fully staffed just a couple months ago.
So the 3 vacancies are more recent then?
They're more recent, yes. Because again, we filled them, and then we've lost people since then. Okay. So we're filling them very quickly, and we're able, like I said in my letter, I will say currently on the merit side, I have 4 deputies in field training. So I have 7 openings and 4 in field training. That's 11 positions that aren't working the road by themselves right now. That's more than an entire squad. That hurts us when we have 4 squads, right? So it's hard for me to come in and say, hey, I need merit deputies. But with us, the way we're staying on the jail side, staffing wise, it's much easier to see that we still have that needs, have those needs, as well as, again, with the things that are happening today.
So you're thinking that shortly you should have those vacancies filled?
100%.
And be trying to have all positions full by near the end of the year, so that at the beginning of 2026, you'd be able to hire 3 more.
I would say we'll be ready by January 1 of 2026. To hire.
To
what
hire the
positions are
additional
approved.
ones?
100%. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that at all. Like I said, on the merit side, that's different. That process, we've sped it up, but it takes us 6 months to even hire a merit deputy, and then an additional 8+ months to get them out on their own if they're not a lateral. So we've hired 4 laterals. We have 1 in our current process. So it's just much more extensive for the merit deputy side than the jail deputy side. But we can get through a jail hiring process in about 4 to 5 weeks and get them started, and they'll be done with field training within a couple months.
Okay.
So,
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a call for the question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes 7-0.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the treasurer's request for a new part-time position and the soil water request.
I'm sorry, excuse me.
The treasurer and soil and water's request, I'd like to make the motion to approve all those.
Second.
And allow them to hire the full-time person now for soil and water.
Okay.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
And I think to that, Eric, should we send a message to them to come for additional appropriations?
They may not, it just depends.
If they have the funds.
They might need it to within, they can wait till the end of the year. I mean, they may not need it once they've had that position. By the time they actually get somebody hired,
I think they got somebody in the chute right now, I think.
The next item is,
On the assessor, I make motion, the 2 part-time positions, that she's wanting to make into 1 full-time position. I make motion to approve that.
we have a motion to approve the 2 part-time positions in the sales disclosure unit to
Into
become
one.
a 1 full-time. Is the motion yes?
Yeah.
Part of the request was to
Do we
keep
have-
some money in 18998 for seasonal help. Is that part of your motion?
Yes.
Okay.
Second. Is there a second?
Larry Hessen.
Larry Hessen, we have a second, we have a motion and a second on concerning the sales disclosure positions. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, 7-0 on the two sales disclosures going to one position. Next, we have the creation of a new position, which would combine the residential unit supervisor, the current one, and the field inspection unit supervisor. Combine those two into one position, which would then be in charge of all of those people. Is there a discussion?
President, I move that request be denied.
We have a motion that be denied. Is there a second? I will second that motion. Is there discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0.
I make a motion on the council position to not approve that this time.
Second.
We have a motion to not approve the council administrator position, and we have a second. Is there discussion?
This
Okay.
position, it's kind of open-ended, I think the intent was to be full-time, is that the?
It would be full-time.
Yeah.
Hearing none, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, aye. Carries 6-1. The auditor has brought to my attention something we should address.
Yeah, you were discussing the elected officials' pay earlier. I need to know if that is gonna be for this year. You approved the COLA. Are we adjusting those elected officials?
Yes.
Before we get to that, and I hate to even ask this question because it's such a challenge, the prosecutors' matrix go up even though they're not getting a raise from the state. So are we gonna pay county paid prosecutors more than the state paid ones are getting?
Don't we always parody that?
I didn't understand what happened last year, that's why I'm just bringing it up. That
We
was,
got into that before, haven't we?
I don't even know what's
The
going on
state-
over there.
The state raised,
I know
state
they're all-
raised, we raised.
We've always tried to parody it.
Yeah, we've always tried to maintain parity between state paid and county paid deputy prosecutors, sometimes with more success than others.
Did Lauren ask for any?
But this year, we're paying we're paying our, not state prosecutors, we're paying ours more than the state's paying theirs.
I don't know.
I don't
know what the
I'm-
state has done.
I'm just bringing it to the point, I'm not making a motion.
Well,
I want them.
let's see if we can find out what that situation is right now.
Yeah, we need to ask Lauren about that because it's more confusing than I can.
Some of the, in past years when I researched it, state paid were well above ours.
They used to be well below ours.
Even.
Yeah, at one
And then a couple years ago, they jumped
Yeah,
up huge.
they jumped up huge when sheriff prosecuted, those went up maybe 5 years ago. They jumped up a lot.
And so, but what we may have raised, the non-state ones last year, or for this year, we may be paying them more than the state ones.
I don't know. His state ones are, higher level prosecutors. They do the criminal, and so they do make more.
Yeah, he calls them not supervisors, but,
Yeah. And they do supervise people, I think.
Right.
But they do make more, but I don't think he raised the issue that something, or did Jeremy Gooch, did he? Cause his is supposed to be the
Yeah,
same.
Gooch is,
Yeah, so I don't think it's a problem right now,
Doesn't,
but I don't know that.
doesn't Gooch's salary follow the judges somehow?
Yes,
I think
yeah.
you're right.
But if he had he didn't ask for a public defender, did he? But if he had an employee as a public defender, they have to match the prosecutor employees.
Well, his deputies are contract.
Right, right. I thought he was gonna ask for a employee, but he didn't.
He did last year, right?
Did he get it?
In the budget?
Did he get it last year?
Can we
Yeah, he got it
determine
last
what the current situation is now?
He doesn't have somebody in there right now, but
Oh.
I mean, that line is still
Scott is
open.
the deputy public defender.
I don't think
Not
it's a
anybody else.
problem now, so deal with it.
So Eric, should we pursue that afterwards, or, as
These
far as
positions
perhaps
on
for
the
the,
budget.
for consideration later?
I mean, I don't know, what did his prosecutor's thing say, did he say his request? I don't know how that works, it's too confusing for me. My brain working powers about that.
I have a question, Ann, on this sheet. It says that the prosecutor gets no pay for performance, but they do. The prosecutor do. So,
Just not certain.
yes, I sat with him for hours.
Yes.
He wanted to write them all a check and give it to them at Christmas.
No, that's not how it works. So before we get to elected officials, my question is, which elected officials are abusing the performance pay system? Yeah, I do. Because they're not, I'm gonna make a motion for them not get a raise. If we wanna be serious about this, then they're not gonna get a raise. If we don't do that, then everything we talk is lip service and it doesn't matter what we're doing.
And so you're proposing that the salaries for elected officials be personal rather than,
If they're not doing what we're asking them to do, the only thing we can do
This is
is,
supposed to be
we
probation.
can't reduce the pay, but we cannot increase it.
Well, part of the problem is that's all arbitrary. I mean, what I consider abuse, somebody else might not consider abuse.
So then we should stop
When
complaining
you
about
look
it.
at the numbers where they say this person's at a higher score than this one, but yet they're getting less, it's arbitrary. So it'd be hard to make that whole.
Then we should never mention that ever again, that people are paying them, they're not doing it right. If it's arbitrary, if we don't know what's going on, we should never complain about it again.
And we originally told them no rules, which,
We can't have it all the same. We either, if we're not gonna do anything about it, there's no reason to complain about it. We're no better than the federal
We've
government.
already capped the performance.
I know, but they can still,
I think Captain is gonna help.
Before I
there.
forget, this is supposed to be probation matrix, not prosecutor
Okay.
matrix.
and there is no code, because that's state control, right?
Right.
another thing that needs worked out different than last year, because this was a major pain, is department head performance. You have to contact like 5 outside people. If you're lucky, you can get them. And it gets down to the wire, because like the Parks, his boss is,
The boards.
you know, and planning
Health.
and health, and it's a major pain, so. And then that's where Kurtz and the chief deputies got higher than the max. So. I-
Non-elected department heads, they should have this, we should not be setting that. That should be their people that are in charge of them. I know what you just said, but
Yeah.
that's their job and they need to understand that.
For the department heads, they would be under the commissioners.
Not all of them,
No.
not
Oh,
planning,
no.
not health,
Yeah,
not
there's
parks.
4 or 5 of them that aren't,
Oh,
and so
goodness.
it is complicated for the person doing payroll. I mean, it's
To me, non-elected department heads are the same as an employee. Because they report to somebody, their boss needs to
They
determine what
are,
they get.
that's right, I agree.
So they have the same 1 and, I guess, 3 and 1 as everybody else available to them. It's up to their boss to let us know.
maybe write them a letter and give them a deadline, and if they don't do it, then
Yeah,
their department heads SOL.
Yes, I agree with that.
'Cause,
Special out loud?
yes.
Okay.
Sweet.
Because you gotta figure out who's the president of the board. I mean, nothing is easy in the auditor's office. You gotta figure out who's the president this year.
Because the department head is just a county employee, they're not,
Yeah,
so they're.
like John is a county employee.
Yes.
Tim's not a county, Tim's planning.
And to me, chief deputies are, I mean, maybe they're not technically, I mean, they're just an employee.
Yeah.
I mean, they're they're elected office holder, but they're a county employee too, so they have, I think they're under the same. But if we're not willing to not pay people who aren't doing their jobs the way we want them to do, then we need to stop complaining about it. That's my whole point. Because we've asked them to do it, and they're either incapable of doing it, or they're choosing not to do what we asked them to do.
Did you visit?
And you never give that person, if somebody's directly being obstinate to what you're doing, or they're not, or you've tried twice now to get them to understand it, they still don't understand it, then they don't deserve a raise.
Well, if originally the guideline was there are no guidelines, we probably should put in guidelines. Because it's kind of hard to hold somebody accountable to something if they don't know what they're being held accountable to.
Is that sort of like going above the speed limit without having a speed limit?
That's
No, it's, whatever.
Well, to move on, we don't have numbers in front of us that would have, and Dave threw out a bunch of stuff. So I'd like to see, before we have a final vote on elected official salaries, some numbers. But for now, you could say elected officials, all elected officials get 3% like everybody else, unless we change it with some type of a suggestion, like Dave suggested, 85% raise or something.
Last year you gave the full amount, which is 4.5, because the elected officials don't have the opportunity for a raise, for a
Yeah.
performance. But
So,
that's what.
yeah.
And the rationale was that we're doing the same thing with the sheriff, so it's like, I don't know.
So, yeah, I'd say do the 4% for all elected officials, unless we change it with something else.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for elected officials to receive a 4% increase. Is that, do I understand that correctly?
Yes, for now.
Is there discussion? Yes, sir.
So, Dave, would you like for me to get these numbers more down?
I'd love to see some numbers
For the
and
next-
suggestions on if there's some other adjustments that need to be done, yeah.
So this would be tentatively for now, and then get this down so you can see that and maybe.
Because we still have time to change salaries,
Yeah,
don't we?
yeah.
Very
We have our final
For
vote.
individual ones, yeah, that's fine.
By the next council meeting,
I don't wanna put Ann on the spot, but I noticed, I guess I will, there was a stipend for auditors given a couple years ago, so she did put it in the budget, which is fine with me. It's 2,500, so I guess you need to approve the stipend, which you did in the budget, so maybe it's approved. So then the 4% would be on top of the 25?
No, the stipend is a state, does the state say it's a set amount?
2,500, yes.
Then it's $2,500.
It's up to.
It's up to.
2,500.
Up to, yeah.
So then, same with the clerk's extra pay and anybody else that's stealing those extra pays, those don't all,
They're not considered.
they're not,
Okay.
that's, I don't, because if we start doing that, then we're paying more than.
It's
states.
separate, it's
Right.
not built into their salary.
Right, so the system can do that.
Yeah, they're built in.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanna make that
Like
clear.
Dave doesn't get a 4% increase when the section corners and miles a ditch.
Right,
He gets
does
an increase
not.
on his salary.
That's right.
Okay, is there further discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion.
Was there,
Pardon?
was there a second?
yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Eric said.
Yeah, I second it.
We have a motion, we have a motion and,
Question.
we got a question.
I'm sorry, to the one who made the motion, are we considering also the surveyor and the coroner with this as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Okay, so this would be for elected officials.
Okay, all right.
A 4%.
Except sheriff.
Pardon me?
And
No.
judges, no judges, no sheriff, no prosecutor, no public defender.
Thanks.
Yes, correct.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second for a 4% raise for the elected officials. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Passes 7-0 for elected officials.
And I'll try to get some help to get this put in a better format for everyone to look at for the next council meeting. And if we wanna make those adjustments, that's up to the council to make those adjustments. That'd be fair enough.
Fair enough.
You okay?
Last year, the chief deputies were, I ended up doing the same percentage because of the longevity being in the elected officials, so the 85% did not work for those. So then I just took the base and,
But there shouldn't be, this is their pay now, there shouldn't be, longanity's gone.
but their pay went up, so you want the chief deputy to get 85% of the 1,500 that went up?
The chief deputy should just, is that, if our rule is that they're 85% of that, then yes.
Yeah, the chief deputy salary is based on the elected official salary, period, so. The elected official goes up 3%.
I think we need to be careful with that with the coroner, and I need a legal advice with that.
If we go back, I would reduce the deputy coroner's pay because we were strong on that. I was completely against that happening, and that was a bunch of malarkey.
I would really like
In
to
my
know
opinion.
if we're comparing apples to apples, because I know that some coroners are not full-time. And I don't know if ours is considered full-time or not. Does he get benefits?
I think it's everything.
Okay.
They
So
both
ours
do.
is considered full-time.
I
Right, or not?
remember when that was.
Not all of them are.
The thing is with the chief deputies getting that 1,500 longevity, that's not just for 1 year, that's going on and
There,
on and
but
on
then
and
see,
on.
there isn't any longevity. Their pay is now their pay. That longevity is gone. I pray it's gone. It should be gone. That should be nowhere in our system anywhere.
It's gone.
Yeah,
It's
it's
gone.
Well, that's,
The word doesn't exist.
you're very generous, but that's not right.
But why isn't it? I don't, that was a one-time thing to get everybody.
No, we gave it
separate.
every year. We gave it every year, and it grew every year. The 3%
We have
grew
stopped.
every year. Right, so. It was,
So I
it
assume
was,
the
it
pay
used to be
scales took
separate.
that into account.
Yes.
Yes.
So it absorbed that when the pay scales were set.
Mr. Cox, any comments? Any comments? Mr. Hassan?
I'd like to make a motion.
No.
Not that it'll make any difference, but I would move that, if we're going to have performance pay, that be, paid in 1 year, the year following the performance, and that be paid not later, in a
It's
lump
part of
sum, not
Okay,
later
let me
than,
finish.
April 1st of the following year.
We have a motion from Mr. Hessen. Is there a second?
Can you explain the motion one more time, Larry,
Yeah.
please?
Rather than having performance pay be paid each year over umpteen years, that it be paid for only 1 year, rewarding that year's performance, and then it be paid in a lump sum, not later than April 1st of the year following the performance.
I'll second.
Okay, we have.
That is, okay, the motion is second. That is not performance pay, that's a bonus.
Yes. I agree.
Performance pay is part of your salary, and it increases every year going forward. That's what it is.
Is there
What you're
a
talking
call?
about is a bonus, not performance pay.
We have a call for the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
2 to 5. Doesn't pass. Any last?
No, I'll see if I can get some help with some of the ladies down here on the corner.
You're gonna pursue that
And I'll
farther.
pursue that to get those numbers put together, so then I can dazzle Eric one more time.
Yes.
And, everybody,
Okay.
and so, if we can do that, then that way we can take another look, and if we need to make adjustments, we can do that at our next council meeting, so I will finish that up.
And I'll send out my spreadsheet too.
Well, we'll see if you can dazzle Eric.
I was very dazzled today.
Oh,
I just want everybody to know that I like all of you, and I respect all of you, I just get a little bit animated sometimes.
I bet you're very frazzled.
Yeah, you don't look proud of me there.
Traumatized.
No, sir.
Yeah.
Eric, is that your final comment?
Yeah.
I need that.
Nancy?
I would like to say, all 7 members were here every day, which makes the minutes way easier to do. And this first time in my recollection, maybe 40 years ago that happened, but the years I was auditor, people were in and out, and so, I mean, it's very confusing with the minutes, who was here on what day, to try to keep that, so I think it's great that we were all here every day.
And I think with that, with Nancy, let's get our budget set up for next year as quick as we can, so that way anybody that wants to make summer plans, and we'll try to work our schedules around that.
Okay, all right. This meeting is hereby concluded.